Good evening. I want to welcome everyone to the July 8th Williamson County Commissioner meeting. The first item on our agenda is the invocation and pledge delivered tonight by District 7. The invocation will be given by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe. The pledge will be given by Commissioner Richards. Please rise.
We gather here this evening mindful of the privilege and responsibility we hold as stewards of this community. We thank you for the opportunity to serve and seek your guidance as we convene to make decisions that will shape the future of our county. Grant us wisdom and clarity, Lord, to discern what is right and just. May our discussions be filled with mutual respect, compassion, and a genuine desire to serve the common good of Williamson County. Help us to listen attentively to one another and to the voices of those we represent, ensuring that our actions reflect the values and needs of our county. Bless our county with peace, prosperity, and unity. Protect and guide all who live and work here, especially those who are most vulnerable. May our efforts today and always be dedicated to fostering a thriving, inclusive, and supportive environment for all. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You got the hard part.
You write it down.
Roll call. On the screen. Record the roll, please, Ms. Whitney.
We have, no, hold on, because okay. Yes, she's here. I'm missing Commissioner Hayes. It just didn't record your. Oh, fine. That's okay. All right, so I have 21 present, 2 absent, 1 vacancy. Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Williams absent.
And we heard from both of them. Commissioner Matt Williams will ask that people keep him and his family in your prayers as he learned of the passing of his father-in-law here recently and is unable to attend for those reasons. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. A little unusual. We're going to need to do 3 of these, and we'll have to do them separately, so we'll need a motion and a second and then a vote to approve the minutes of the June 10th meeting, followed by the June 20th special called meeting, and then finally the June 20th annual budget meeting. I've got a proper motion made by Commissioner Mary Smith, seconded by Commissioner Drew Torres, and I may have a comment on the floor. Why not? Who's the comment from? Comment from council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As some of you may remember, there was an issue with the vote that occurred in June during the June 10th meeting. Your rules provide that the majority is 13. State law seems to say that it can be 12. No action was taken at that. There was no appeal at that time. So that action is correct and is final. Now, what I would like to do without objection is just to put a little footnote in the minutes to reflect that there is a conflict between the state law and the local rules. And my next suggestion would be to amend your rules as soon as we can. Thank you.
Any objections to adding that comment into the minutes? I see none. Any other comments or suggestions or changes that need to be done to the minutes of the June 10th meeting? We can do these by voice vote, and so we shall. All those in favor? It is loaded.
You got a question?
You've got some.
Okay, and we do have another question?
Yes.
From Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Torres.
Sorry, I just want to make sure council's comments are for the June 10th, but on the screen it says we're voting on June 20th minutes. I just want to make sure we're.
June 10th.
Okay. So the minutes we're voting on now is June 20th or 10th?
Should be the 10th.
If we're going to use the loaded ones, we'll do as the screen.
It's June the 10th.
We'll follow the screen if we're going to do voice vote.
Loaded.
I don't think he has it.
It's not on here.
He doesn't have it on there.
Then we'll voice vote on June 10th.
Can we just do that on all of them?
Yes.
We'll go back to doing a voice vote on all 3 of these. So with a proper motion from Commissioner Mary Smith, seconded by Commissioner Drew Torres, All those in favor of approving the minutes of the June
Commissioner
10th meeting
Commissioner
signify.
Mary Smith.
Okay. Question, Mary Smith.
Just real quick to the comments from the council. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Since nobody actually challenged it at that time, is there a proper way to do a motion to reconsider that?
Motion reconsider would not take care of it because it's not at the same meeting.
Okay, so you can only do a motion to reconsider at the same meeting?
Correct. Now, there is a motion to amend something previously adopted, which is very complicated, which I did offer to the maker, and we decided to go this route instead.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments related to the minutes of the June 10th meeting? Seeing none, if you're in favor of the approval of those minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, we'll be looking at the minutes of the June 20th special called meeting. Looking for a motion and a second, if they can reload it.
Well, if we're not going to
He
use the
doesn't have
machine,
it.
it won't reload because we didn't vote.
And I do need a separate motion for each of them.
Yes.
So moved.
Got a motion from Commissioner Tunnicliff, seconded by Commissioner Morton. Any questions or comments related to the June 20th special called meeting? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of approving those minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Those minutes are approved. And then lastly, I'll need a motion to approve the minutes of the June 20th annual budget meeting.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Tunnicliff, seconded by Commissioner Morton. Any questions or comments related to the approval of those minutes? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of the approval of those minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is citizen communications. Our rules allow up to 30 minutes, and that time is divided by the number of people that we had sign up. We had 20. We have 20, so that will give each person that comes to speak a minute and a half. I'll ask you to keep your comments within that time frame. I'll give you an indication when you've got about 15 seconds left, so you know to wrap things up. As always, we'll ask you to be courteous as you come to the podium. When you do come to the podium, we need you to announce your name and the town in which you live. And then as far as the audience is concerned, no clapping, cheering, or booing, as much as you may wish to do so. That way we get to hear all the speakers and they can utilize all their time to get their thoughts across. One last statement, in case some of you are new to this type of proceedings, we're unable to communicate back to you. So if you ask us a question and wonder why we're sitting here with blank stares, that's what Robert's Rule of Law requires. So we can't comment back or have any give and take with the speakers at the podium. With that, and we'll take these in the order in which they signed up, my first speaker is Ms. Kathy Green.
Hi, I'm Kathy Green. I live in the Bethesda area of Thompson Station, and I'm here to urge you guys to please fund the Bethesda Rec Library Senior Citizen Center. Last month, I saw you guys approve, the majority of you approved the UGB, which is going to cause even more growth in our area. Our library is very small. It's 2 small rooms. Their numbers are up in both circulation and the children's program, but they only have 1 room, 1 children's room. So if you had like 3 or 4 children with an age expansion, there's 1 program for all the kids. That's it. That's all they have the room and the staff to do. Our seniors, a lot of them have lived in our community and have paid taxes for decades. They deserve a nice facility like is located in the rest of the communities. They deserve programs where they don't have to travel because our traffic is up, and that's scary for a lot of older people. So you guys already own the land. You've already done the fields. The construction, and I know there's a lot to it, it's kind of drug out a couple of years, and the prices have gone up. I mean, we're still growing, so you're either going to have to do it now or you're going to have to do it later. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost.
15 seconds.
So I urge you guys to please consider funding our community centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Frank Limpus.
My name is Frank Limpus, and I live in District 10. I respectfully ask you to defer the nomination tonight, filling the vacant District 10 seat. Citizens do not need a political appointment. We need our voice in the process. According to the Tennessee Code, there is time for this to happen. In fact, the County Election Commission has already announced a process and a schedule allowing District 10 citizens to have a voice in this process. Please defer the appointment of any replacement tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Catherine Bradbury.
Hello, my name is Catherine Bradbury, and I'm from Spring Hill. I'm a mom of 2 elementary school age kids that attend school in Spring Hill in District 3. I'm here to speak on the Board of Education 3rd District in the electoral process of having the people's voice heard through the ballot. I strongly believe that we need a neutral interim in place of the vacant District 3 seat on the Williamson School Board. As a resident of Spring Hill, I am hopeful that our commissioners will choose an individual to fulfill that seat that will not affect the August 1st election, specifically not a candidate that is running. I see that the agenda does not call out a nominee. However, I was informed that there is one. My question for the commissioners, I know that you can't speak back, is that if there's only one, was there enough time to actually give people the time to nominate a third party or to volunteer if need be? I look forward to voting and having my chance to express my candidate choice at the ballot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Diane Cochran.
Next is Diane Cochran.
Good evening. My name is Diane Cochran from Spring Hill. I'm here to speak as the qualified candidate for the Democratic Party for Williamson School Board for District 3 in Spring Hill. Your agenda tonight specifies that you'll be voting on someone to fill the vacant seat for that District 3 on the WCS Board of Education. Were you to appoint either my opponent or myself to that seat would show favoritism and provide a distinct advantage over their opponent and it inadvertently influence the race. I would like to encourage the commission to appoint a neutral third-party appointee until after the election on August 1, when the race is decided by the voice of the voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Peggy Kingsburg.
Thank you, Peggy Kingsbury of Franklin, and thank you for serving our community. I proudly serve as the chair of the Williamson County Democratic Party, and I agree that we need a neutral party to fill the seat in School Board District 3. I do not believe it is fair for either our candidate or the Republican candidate to be selected to sit in this vacant position. Please don't insert yourselves into an election, and early voting starts on Friday. I also live in District 10, so like Mr. Limpus, I also agree with him on this and ask that you give us a chance in District 10 to select our county commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Rod Berger.
Hello, my name is Dr. Rod Berger. I've been a resident of Williamson County in Franklin for almost 20 years. I'm here tonight to share my perspective on the eroding optics of this body and that of the school board. It is highly concerning that members of this community have had to file public records requests to establish whether or not violations of the Sunshine Act have taken place regarding the vacant school board seat representing District 3. Community whispers quickly turned heads, mine included, at the sniff of impropriety just 4 days out from early voting. The fact that I and others have to waste our time communicating what should be common sense this evening is outrageous. This is not a charge against the left or the right, but for common decency and the principles of democracy. I frankly am alarmed that we haven't learned our lesson in this county over the last several years. The community has had to fight back against extremist doctrine, save books that were banned at the hands of the few, impacting the many, and push back against exclusive agenda items, not inclusive, in some attempt to preserve a time in our history underscored by our differences and in service to a select few. It is time that elected leaders in this county start acting like the adults they are, govern with an eye for fairness, and communicate with transparency. Waiting until July 8th, when the seat was vacated in March, implies intent to deceive. Anything else implies a lack of ability to govern appropriately and ethically. The optics that some in this body have preordained one candidate over another before our established election process to gain prospective favor at the ballot box shows how far we have to climb to correct the narrative building about Tennessee and specifically Williamson County. The vacated seat in District 3 should be taken up not by a candidate for the said chair, but by a neutral party until the elections.
10 seconds.
Anything else is partisan, morally weak, and politically stupid. We should not see Driggers or Cochran voted on tonight. To those of you upholding your end of the bargain, I say thank you for working and governing with dignity.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Elliott Franklin.
Good evening. My name is Elliott Franklin, here in Franklin. On behalf of the Williamson County Republican Party County Executive Committee, I'm here tonight to request that you defer the appointment of a D10 commissioner. This request is based on the precedent set by this commission and the D7 vacancy in 22, as well as the recent sheriff vacancy. In order to meet the August 15th nominee deadline, our chair, Dr. Tracy Miller, and the rest of the board were unable to be here tonight because they're at our monthly board meeting to ensure that we meet this requirement and comply with the GOP bylaws. The problem as the WCRP perceives it is that when you as a political body defer, it suggests that you somehow lack the support for a candidate who is being expedited or temporarily placed into a vacated position. This assumption may be false. However, a procedural appointment can be interpreted as a situation where we cannot entrust our constituents. Fortunately, in Williamson County, we can. When we hold a convention, it is to give our candidates the full weight of the R behind their name. We want to be able to say that they went against all the challengers and were fairly elected to the position. In addition, we understand that this will come at a considerable cost, but it's worth it. The county commission should rely on democratic processes and not upon bureaucratic procedures. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Terry May.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Terry Mai. I live in Spring Hill, which is in District 3 of Williamson County. And I understand that the commission has an item on the agenda to appoint someone to fill the unexpired school board seat for District 3. As has been previously noted, a new school board member will be elected on August 1st, and early voting begins Friday, July 12th. I believe that in the interest of fairness to the candidates running for this position, if the commissioners choose an interim, that they choose one who is not currently on the ballot, as I believe appointing a candidate to fill an unexpired term could result in an unfair advantage if a candidate is appointed. As such, an appointment could also be seen as an endorsement by the voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Jonna Carter Haynes.
Hello, I'm Jonna Carter Haynes. I live here in Franklin, Tennessee. And you can't hear me? Okay. I'm Jonna Carter Haynes. I live here in Franklin, Tennessee. Born and raised here. Been here all my life. I'm here to speak on the vacant seat for 10. The nominee, Cheryl Brown, in the 6th District. Mr. O'Neill, correct? Mr. O'Neill was appointed by everyone and was voted in unanimously, and I expect the same for Cheryl. We may serve different parties, but our values are the same. That's basically really what all I have to say. So we would appreciate it if you do what you did for Mr. O'Neill and vote Cheryl Brown in.
Thank you. Next, I have Catherine McKinney. And after that, I'll have Judith Ann Ward and then Rob Tide, if I'm saying the last name correct.
Hi, I'm Catherine McKinney. I'm from Franklin, District 10, and I'm here to request respectfully that you observe the Tennessee Code with regard to District 10 appointment, and that you let the constituents, myself included, put forth names per the democratic process outlined in the protocol. I don't think there's any rush. I don't know why we have to appoint someone right now. We've got 120 days per the code, and I strongly ask that you observe that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Judith Ann Ward.
Hello, my name is Judith Ann Ward from Franklin. In regards to appointing a county commissioner without adequate public notification, let me read to you the state law of Tennessee. Before the county legislative body votes or considers any motion or resolution regarding the office to be filled, the chair shall allow registered voters of the county an opportunity to submit names to the county legislative body for consideration. This is a position that the people decide on, and without this, you aren't giving the people the true voice. I'm asking the county commissioners to put off the appointment of any replacement until the constituents of D10 have an ample time to be informed and act. And if the public doesn't respond then, by law, to nominate and appoint is legal. I'm hoping that the will of the people is more important than pushing someone through without adequate steps in the law. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I have Rob Tide, if I'm saying that right?
Close.
Okay.
Don't worry about that, Mr. Bradford. Everybody gets it wrong.
Mine too.
So it's Rob Teedy, Franklin. I want to first say thank you all for all that you do. I had reached out to this body a few times in the past couple of months, first to express concern over the hyper growth that we're all experiencing. We've heard that already here tonight. But the point I want to make tonight is with respect to the JJJ project. I want to urge this body to be fiscally conservative, to be good stewards of taxpayer funds, don't incur debt, don't raise property taxes, find a workable solution. And I also understand, and I'm not suggesting anything with this comment, but I understand there are 3 relatives of Judge Guffy, who's the advocate, on this panel, and I would consider that it might be wise to recuse themselves to remain above reproach, to remain out of the fray of any potential conflict of interest or ethical standards ambiguity. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a stab at this. Ali Himyart. Probably butchered it.
Pretty good. Ali Himyari, Franklin, Tennessee. First of all, thank you all for your service back to this community. I appreciate that. And I want to echo the sentiments of some of my peers. I would encourage you all to uphold democracy and defer the D10 vote to the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Miss Debbie Ballard. And then I'll have Rebecca Chittum.
It's Debbie Ballard from Brentwood, Tennessee. Thank you all for your time and all the work that you do in making Williamson County the best you can. And I'm sure you face some malcontent at any time throughout your service. Leadership is hard. It's hard trying to please 100% of your constituents 100% of the time. We're humans with emotions and feelings and opinions. I am thanking you for your nomination for Cheryl Brown. I've worked alongside of Cheryl since 2019 and known her for many years. I've known her to be fair, balanced, and thoughtful, which I'm sure many of you have known firsthand. Under Cheryl's leadership, her board never tried to fight against one Republican over another, nor threw anyone to the curb. Cheryl is a studier who will strive to understand what reports come out of committees, what needs are for the county, and understand balances and fairness of budgets and take all tasks seriously. Cheryl Brown loves Williamson County. She has been on many boards through the years that she has lived here.
15 seconds.
I have never seen anyone so much like the Energizer Bunny that goes to everything. She will make sure she is out there among her D10 constituents.
Thank you. Next, I have Rebecca Chittum.
My name is Rebecca Chittum. I live here in Franklin. I have known Cheryl Brown since 2019 as well. I sat on the board. I know that she's fair. I know that she's honest, she's professional, and she's just a bubble of life. And I don't see any reason why she cannot fill this seat. I support her 100%, and I am pretty good on character. They say Williamson County. I can tell you about Williamson County and their voters. 12,000 voters put our mayor into office. We have 90,000 people in our county. Where are the rest of them? Where are they? When they say that they need something, if you don't vote, you don't do the primaries, then I say hush. 12,000 out of 90,000 people, probably 84,000 people are registered voters. Do they care? Well, I care. I care about our county. I care about our city. I care about what's happening around in our community. Cheryl Brown does too. So I am an advocate for Cheryl Brown to fill this position. That's it.
Thank you. Next, we have Juliet Tomset. Or Julie Tomset, sorry.
That's okay. That was my grandmother's name, so it's fine. I'm Julie Tomset. I live in downtown Franklin. Been here 18 and a half years. I have known Cheryl Brown for almost 17 years, and I can tell you she is a fantastic human being. She is a woman of God, and she has a great amount of integrity. And I sat in almost every meeting for the GOP when she was the chairwoman, and I can tell you, she reached out to everybody to try to make the community better. It wasn't just Republicans or people that thought the way she thought. She cares about the entire community of Williamson County and Franklin. So there are haters out there, and they sent a hit piece out today with their old thread-bearing lies about Cheryl. And it's really sad. They did the same exact thing with the same exact wording when she ran for chairman. And the reason why is because they cannot control her. They cannot control her because she is a woman of integrity, and they hated it that she reached out to everyone. I would urge you to just follow the code. You can appoint her. Please do that.
Thank you. Next, we have Elise Farrell. After that, we'll have Charles Valdez.
Hi, y'all. Elise Farrell, Franklin. This may be like a court case where you have a judge that is told by both the prosecution and the defense that he needs to rule in a certain way because that's what the law is, and the judge ignores them and doesn't do what's right, rules the way he wants to, and then inevitably he's reversed on appeal. Because the prosecution and the defense never agree that the judge should rule in a certain way. We just don't do that. So we're on opposite sides. You just heard from both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and they both asked you to do the same thing. That's crazy, and that's unheard of. And y'all should do the right thing and do what both parties are asking you to do, which is let the voters decide. That's what they're asking you to do. They're just asking you to let the voters decide. So don't be like the judge who gets reversed on appeal. Do the right thing.
Thank you. Next, we have Charles Valdez, sorry.
Hello, my name is Charles Valdez, and I live in the Bethesda community of Thompson Station. When I moved here in 2010, I had the opportunity shortly thereafter to meet this dynamic woman by the name of Cheryl Brown. She recruited me to be on a board in a nonprofit board in Franklin, and she encouraged me because my last name indicated that I had a connection with a particular community that resides here in Williamson County. As I participated in this nonprofit, I saw the needs of the community which I represent being truly taken care of by this nonprofit. In my relationship with Cheryl, I saw her reaching out to this particular community. So much so that she encouraged me to start getting more involved in this political process. She says, Charles, we need your voice. We need the voice of the community that you represent to be spoken in Williamson County. What does that all mean? Well, it wasn't just me that she was telling this to.
15
She was telling this to everybody. Get involved. Get involved with what's going on. I encourage you to appoint her tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rodney Alexander.
I don't know what the laws are, what the codes are, any of that. I just know Cheryl's awesome. Everything that everybody said about her, I agree with 100%. If there's a vacancy and it needs to be filled by somebody to get something done, then you're making a mistake by not putting her in to fill that vacancy. She's going to be elected to fill that position, District 10. I've known her for 20 years, so it's either now or later, but I would encourage you to endorse her.
Thank you. Next, we have David Landrum.
Appreciate everybody coming out to see me. I wasn't here. I'm David Landrum, Franklin, Tennessee. With the recent vacancy created by my moving out of District 10, Commissioner Guffy and I each interviewed several candidates to fill the vacancy and ultimately have chosen Cheryl Brown. Due to her proven leadership, her experience, her serving our community, we feel she will make an excellent commissioner, and I humbly ask for your support and vote for Cheryl Brown to replace me as County Commissioner, District 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Landrum. And that is everyone, so that concludes citizens' communications. Next, we go to communications and messages. We have 5 late-filed resolutions. If there are no objections, we will hear all 5 of those. Do I hear any objections to those late-filed resolutions? With no objections, we'll hear those. We have 2 proclamations this evening. The first one is a proclamation to be given by Commissioner Tunnicliffe honoring the Brentwood High School Bruins lacrosse team.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you.
And face this way, don't look at them.
That's all right.
I was ready. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. If we had done this about one of my son's soccer teams, it would take about 4 seconds. This team, unfortunately, or fortunately, as you may look at it, as I do, did a phenomenal job this year, and there's a lot to say about them. This is a proclamation honoring the Brentwood High School Bruins lacrosse team. Whereas the Brentwood High School boys lacrosse team, known as Brentwood Lacrosse, won their 3rd Division I AA state title at the Tennessee State Lacrosse Association Championship held at Nolensville High School on Saturday, May 18th, 2024. And whereas in a much anticipated championship game, the Brentwood boys lacrosse team defeated the 2023 Division II state champions by the final score of 6-4. Hard-fought championship game demonstrating their determination to succeed. And whereas the Brentwood boys lacrosse team had the #1 strength of schedule against public high schools in the state of Tennessee, they finished the season 9-9 overall, 9-2 in league play. The 2 league losses were to Franklin and Nolensville. They were avenged when they faced Franklin in the semifinals 9-8, and Nolensville in the final game 6-4. The required grit and determination, excellent coaching, see, I got you in there, Coach, and teamwork, And whereas the 2024 season marks a historic milestone for the Bruins as they made their third state championship for the Tennessee State Lacrosse Association and are the 2024 state champions, a testament to their dedication and competitive spirit. Whereas the Brentwood Bruins boast 5 all-region players, 4 all-state players, according to the individual and collective talents of the players and the outstanding coaching leadership. And whereas in the history of Brentwood boys lacrosse, they have won 3 state titles, 2008 and back-to-back in 2023 and 2024. The head coach, Coach Colin Hart, played on the 28 state championship team, was assistant coach in 23, and transitioned to 24, being a part of all 3 championships coming from Brentwood High School. Whereas the defensive MVPs with a save percentage average over 68% in the playoffs are the 2 outstanding goalies. I'm going to mess up some names here, but here we go. Shay Janetta, wow, sophomore, and Owen Sheldon, junior. The offensive MVP with over 150 career points is Captain Brox Peterson? Spelled funny. The overall team MVP, playing both offense and defense, Captain Matthew Hinkle. All right, I did that one too. The coach's award was given to the attackman, Captain Jacob Morrison, Sr. Whereas the 2024 Brentwood High School lacrosse team members and coaches include the following. Here we go. Mason Baker, captain. Jacob Morrison, captain. Brox Peterson, captain. Matthew Hinkle, captain. Carter Green, Matthew Peterson, Dorsey Yates, Nathaniel Downer, Daniel Ward, Strat Dunn, Ty Young, David Van Dyke, Anish Zaw, him, Rex Abram, and Wesley Moore, and Wales Burchell. Defensive players, here we go again, Ty, that man, Essemacher, the only returning starter on defense this year, wow. David Hamilton, Tyson Moody, Trey Doris, Mac Baker, Owen Sheldon, Shay Janetta, Jake Little, Mason Moreland, Will Hubbard, Carter Scott, Leo Bai, Sammy Yount, Ford Jones, and Aiden Krauthammer. Oh, got that one. Coaches, head coach Colin Hart, assistant head coach Colin Reed. Assistant coaches include Kevin Gleason, Will Hass, Bob Markunis, and Hunter Walker. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session this 8th day of July 2024 hereby congratulate the 24 Brentwood High School boys lacrosse team and recognize the level of excellence exemplified collectively as a team, and that they be a source of inspiration for future generations of athletes. And it's signed by Commissioner Webb, Commissioner O'Neill, Commissioner Richards, and myself. Thank you.
Our next and last proclamation for the evening is one honoring our state representative, Sam Whitson. If Sam and his lovely wife, Pam, would come to the podium, please. Once again, a proclamation of appreciation honoring State Representative Sam Whitson. Whereas, born and raised in neighboring Davidson County, Sam Whitson is an 8th-generation Tennessean, earning an undergraduate degrees from MTSU, an MPA from the University of Oklahoma, and a graduate of the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College and U.S. Army War College. And whereas, as a Gulf War veteran in 2002, Colonel Whitson retired after serving 26 years as a regular Army officer. And whereas, in 2016, Sam Whitson was elected to serve the 110th General Assembly representing Williamson County residents in the 65th State House District. And whereas, he was reelected for 4 subsequent terms through the 113th General Assembly and has now chosen to retire from that seat. Whereas during his legislative career, his public service included service on the Transportation Committee, Finance, Ways and Means Committee, Ethics Committee, Redistricting Committee, and the House Council on Pensions and Insurance. And whereas Representative Whitson received numerous public office honors and awards in recognition of his support of various associations and organizations, and whereas Representative Whitson has represented Williamson County with honor and distinction, spending his legislative career being of service to others in an effort to enhance the quality of life for all residents throughout Williamson County. Now therefore be it resolved by Rogers Anderson, Mayor of Williamson County, and myself, Brian Beathard, Chairman of the County Commission, that today, Monday, July 8th, 2024, is Representative Sam Whitson Day. Okay. Next, we have reports of county offices. Before I call on the mayor, I do want to recognize that Senator Jack Johnson is in the office, in the audience, and we thank him for being here. County Mayor Rogers Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to commissioners. First of all, we'll let you know we're closing out the year, and we're a few days into 24-25, and we'll let Phoebe give you a snapshot and look at the reports that have been mailed to you. Phoebe?
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Commissioners, excuse me, I'm a little hoarse tonight, so please bear with me. On your desk this evening, we will find a copy of the report on the debt obligation that has been submitted to the State Department of Local Government Finance. This is for the sheriff's lease financing agreement with Axon. The lease agreement was executed on the 14th day of June. The first initial payment was approved by this governing body in June, and this evening you will have a second resolution approving the second payment, amending the 25 budget so that we may make that payment during the year. Taking a look at our education impact fee collections for the months of July through May, we have taken in a total of a little over $19.2 million. We are currently balancing the month of June. As Mayor Anderson mentioned, we are closing out our books for the fiscal year. But looking at what so far has come in and reported for June, we are looking at an additional $1.9 million for a grand total for the year of 21.2. So overall, education impact fee collections as well as privilege tax collections have been very good this year. Privilege tax collections for the month of May have totaled $1,360,559. And for the month of June, we are looking at another $1.5 million. At this time, I will keep my remarks brief if that's okay with you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Any questions for Ms. Riley?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I've got two items that I want to bring to your attention tonight. First of all, many of you know we have been dealing with the JJJ program for several years. During the month of September, we do not meet in August, as all of you know, but during the month of September, I'll be preparing to bring forth starting the work on the Special Ops building. The Special Ops building we're moving up to, which used to be on the hillside where we moved the MRF out to the landfill. Special Ops building is one of those steps that we need to get going, and main reason we need to get going to that, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, is that we've got about almost $3 million worth of ARPA funds that we have got to get obligated to and get on the books by December of 24. If we do not take some steps to get the Special Ops program going, we stand to lose to have to make up nearly $3 million in property tax money. So you will be seeing that in September. The other item that I'll be bringing before to you in September will be the decision for you all to make. For the last 2 or 3 months, you've been hearing about the jail and the juvenile center. So we'll be bringing those forth to you in September to get those off dead center so that we can get them going. Now, not all that money is going to be needed in the beginning. We will be working with oversight and a planning schedule, how much money that we've got. We know how much money we've already got in the bank, but how much more we're going to need during the following year to probably a year, 15 months, so that we can get that bonded also. So you'll be seeing those two things, Mr. Chairman, in September. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the mayor? Commissioner Lawrence.
Chairman. Good evening, Mayor. Just wanted to ask you about the last meeting where we had the meeting of the whole regarding the JJJ project. So we talked about some different options. Where are we on looking into those, or are we going to start looking at those this month as well and have those numbers ready by September?
Mr. Chairman, through you, I will say that I think, Commissioner Lawrence, you have reached out to Jim Cross through oversight, as well as myself. If you're going to do a detailed study of that one building, I forget the name of the street that it's on, but the old Verizon building.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, Jim said he would do his part built into the already existing fee, but we will need to get Gresham and Smith engaged, and that's going to take some money to look at that building and see what it's going to take to convert that building over into whatever that you feel that you're going to have to do for that building. So you'll have to get some money for that. Gresham's contract does not pick up that Verizon building.
Okay. All right, so would that mean we would have to wait until September to vote on that?
If you can, we don't have another meeting, so the answer to that is probably yes, to allocate that fund. Kind of left it in the commissioner, your hands to try to do something with that. Now, we can go out there and look at it, but as far as the detailed study to capture that building, to do the things that you need, and we have to find out what is needing to go there and what you're going to move.
Okay.
A lot of work.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the mayor? I see none. Next up, we have Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Jason Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioners. Just a couple little updates. We are exactly 4 weeks away from school starting back. So it makes us all breathe. We're more than halfway through the summer. Thank you all, especially for our last meeting where you approved our budget. It made a big difference for our faculty and staff. From a staffing perspective, we're in better shape this year than we were this time last year as we prepare for school starting back in a month. I did want to mention another thanks for you all celebrating the Brentwood High lacrosse team. Like I mentioned last month, the community with Parks and Rec, as you heard, put together a lot of effort over the course of decades to get lacrosse to the point it is in Tennessee. TSSAA, the State Athletics Association for Schools, is taking on that sport in large part because of the efforts of our community over that time. So we appreciate that. Thank you also for going through the process of making a decision with respect to the vacant position from one of our school board members moving out of his district. Finally, we do have an item, a school item on your agenda. It's the annual capital request. The Education Committee and Budget Committee looked at that back in April, and then the Budget Committee looked at it again in preparation for this meeting. I'm certainly available for any questions that you all may have.
Any questions for Superintendent Golden? I see none.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have our hospital report from Mr. Phil Mazuka and Mike Genesee, if they are here. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. I'm going to give a brief report tonight, and then Mike will give a brief financial update. So first of all, I want to thank everybody who attended our ribbon cutting on June 18th. It was a real success. We had, I think, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 community members attend that day, and it was really a great event. So thank you if you were able to come. If you weren't able to come and you want to do a tour, just give me a call and let me know. We can set that up. Just to give you a quick update on the remaining parts of the project. So all of our ER rooms have been completed. The difference is right now we're doing a little floor repair that was laid improperly, and the vendor is actually replacing it at no cost to us. And so some of the rooms will be down for a couple weeks, but we will be at 43 rooms 2 weeks from now. As far as our OB unit goes, most of the OB is completed. We still have our C-section room, third C-section room being done right now, and some of the OB area. That part of the project will be done mid-September. And lastly, we'll have our NICU being renovated at this point, and that'll be done probably the third week of November. The only other update from the project is we did open our cardiac center on the 24th of June, and we opened up with the 2 brand new units, with the EP unit and the cath lab. We're using them both as cath labs now until we can move the temporary cath lab back into that location. That's happening as we speak, and that'll be done within the next couple weeks. So pretty much most of the project is done. We started moving patients into the new area on June 19th. All areas now are occupied by those patients, and so it's going very well. I'll turn it over to Mike for the financial report.
Thank you, Phil. Good evening. Focusing on the financial statements highlight sheet that you all have. You can see from the bottom where the key stats are. We had a somewhat busy month in June. We exceeded all the KPIs over our average amount. We're a little bit less than some of the budgeted items, but comparing to our averages, we had a strong month from that standpoint. We generated a gain of almost $400,000, slightly less than the budget. There's really one item that kind of offset that. We're self-insured for our employee benefits, just like the county is, and we had a very large claim. Actually netted out about $500,000 after our reinsurance. So without that, we would have had a very, very strong month. From a collection standpoint, you can see there were 22 days in May as well as April, but we collected $1.6 million more in May, so it was a very, very strong month. We've had a really good trend of that lately. June, not so much. We know the number for that now. Total cash on hand, we have 143 days of cash, excluding our bond cash. We have 93 days on hand versus our covenant of 90. And we have a strong debt coverage ratio of 2.14. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Mazuka or Mr. Genesee? I see none.
Thank you.
Are there any other departments that wish to report at this time? The chair will recognize Judge Sharon Guffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. Recently, the Williamson County Republican Party sent a newsletter on July 4th that had some information about the Triple J project, as well as a couple sentences that inferred that perhaps there was some impropriety between myself and 3 commissioners. And so I would like to take an opportunity to explain to this commission exactly my relationship with those commissioners, as well as some other commissioners. And so I want you to know that I have lived in this county for 40 years. From the time that I moved in, I began becoming involved in the community, excuse me, within my own neighborhood. I later was a prosecutor and now a judge in this county. But my late husband, his family, has been in this county for many, many, many years. And I had the privilege of being a part of that family for over 30 years. And it is that name that I hold in the highest regard because of all that they have done for this county. And when it is inferred that I have done something improper because of that name, or made some influence because of that name, I get offended. And while the Republican Party did provide a clarification today through another email, which I appreciated very much, based on one of the comments tonight, it is clear that there is still some concern about my relationship with some county commissioners. Because even though the gentleman said, I'm not suggesting anything, he is suggesting something. And so let me explain to you, because some of you know, but some of you do not know. The Guffy family has had public service in their blood since the very beginning. Dr. Harry Guffy was one of the founding members of the Rotary Club. He was one of the founding members of the Franklin Rodeo, a 70-year tradition in this county. Dr. Guffy and his wife had a barbecue every year and invited everyone in this county to come. And that was when Williamson County had 1,000 people. And they did it every year, and the family grew up knowing that you take care of your neighbors. You take care of the people in your county. My late husband was an alderman for the city of Franklin. His sister was an elected alderman for the town of Chapel Hill. That would be Commissioner Morton's mother. My husband gave more money to every soccer team, every baseball team, every football team in this county. He provided jobs to people who were losing their houses. He would do anything for anybody in this county. And Commissioner Smith, Steve Smith, also has a heart for public service. He also, some of you may not know, was an alderman for the city of Franklin before he was a county commissioner. His daughter, Megan Guffy, has followed in his footsteps, probably because she watched her dad go to city or county meetings every day of her life as she was growing up. Now, Commissioner Smith, I have been in your house one time, and it would have been before my late husband died, so that was 6 years ago. And he was sick for 4 years before that, so it would have been at least 10 years ago, probably 15 years ago, I visited your home for a cookout. We don't meet regularly. We, other than commission meetings and committee meetings, we have never discussed this Triple J project outside of those meetings, other than, how's it going? We are not even related at all. And so I'm not sure how your name got thrown in the mix, but I do want to apologize to you for any harm that may cause you, or any explanation that you might have to give to someone because of that. Because I don't see you any more than I see Commissioner Tunnicliffe, who is at every public function that you attend, and he attends more than almost anybody because he's supporting his community. Commissioner Guffy, you are married to Johnny Guffy Jr. And you got married in, don't tell me, 2008? Oh, 2010. We came to your wedding. And since Johnny died, I have been in your house 2 to 3 times in the last 6 years. And we have actually discussed this project about 8 months ago when I gave you an update. And that update consisted of almost verbatim the same letter that I sent all of the county commissioners at the beginning of May. We don't talk about this in private meetings. We are not profiting from this in any way, this project. We're not benefiting by any means. In fact, you have volunteered for Youth Leadership Franklin and have brought students to my court for the last 10 or 12 years. And so you have seen firsthand, directly, what the needs are in juvenile court. So we really don't need to talk about it. And you, like the rest of your commissioners, have done your homework and read the information about this project, which Commissioner Lennox has said, and rightfully so, it is voluminous. There is a lot of preparation done for these meetings. And so there's not the need for us to have any secret meetings. Commissioner Morton, you are the nephew of my late husband, and we went to the hospital when your twins were born. And I have been in your home one time, and I'm not sure that you live in the same home in West Haven, but your children were toddlers, and they are now 15 years old. And so you and I don't have any outside conversations about this project. You know what our needs are. And we're not profiting from this in any way. And Commissioner Mason, we have a professional relationship as well, because was I in the district? When did you began the district attorney's office in 2005, so right after I left. But you have, as a prosecutor, been in my court, prosecuted serious delinquent offenses, been a member of the Child Protective Investigative Team with part of my staff, and you know full well the issues that involve juvenile court. And Commissioner Herbert, you also have worked with me professionally when you worked in the Child Support Office for the state of Tennessee for many years. And so that would go back to the early 2000s that I have known you. And some people don't know this, but Commissioner Herbert, when I was in the DA's office, was responsible for locating one of TBI's most wanted fugitives as her role in child support for a person accused of some serious sexual offenses against his children, and which I prosecuted. And so we've had an ongoing relationship through juvenile court and that since then. And currently, you are a court-appointed special advocate, a CASA, and you appear in my court. And so we regularly see each other and have discussed this project and challenges with this project, and I've answered your questions, and you have struggled, as have your other commissioners, with the difficulties of this project. But we have a long relationship. I'm almost finished. Commissioner O'Neill was had started with the Brentwood Police Department in 1996. You and I also have a relationship from when I was in the district attorney's office, and I've known you and Commissioner Herbert longer than I've known Commissioner Guffy. And you have appeared more recently over the years in juvenile court as a detective for the Brentwood Police Department. So I say all this, Mr. Chairman, to be fully transparent with my relationship with many people on this commission. And so when that relationship is questioned, it's not just an insult to my integrity, it is also an insult to every single one of you who have courageously decided to run for elected office, who have put yourself out there to be scrutinized by anyone behind a keyboard. And if this has not happened to you yet, it will. And so what I would like for this board to do and remember is that we are here to take care of some important issues and needs that this county has, and to put aside any type of noise that might deflect from that, from the really important decisions that you have to make. And I know you're taking it seriously. And I thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to explain my relationship with all of you county commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Judge Guffey. Thank you for those comments. Thank you for your service to our community. Now we move on to elections and appointments. We have a few under the county mayor's offices before we move to the county commission appointees. Those county commission employees being the ones that will have the school board nomination, potential nomination in the 10th District Commissioner seat. But first we have county mayor appointments. The first one up being the Budget Committee that he has set up. I have a proper motion made by Commissioner Ricky Jones isn't here. I guess that may be Lisa Hayes. Or
I bet they have the.
His iPad's not up there.
Yeah,
Not here.
it shows
So
Ricky,
we have a
but I bet
ghost.
it means Commissioner Hayes.
Did you make a motion?
Chattering my teeth. No, I did not. Did I? There's something that doesn't show that.
That's weird because it's
Mary
upside
Smith, did you
down
make a
right here.
motion?
Adrian.
Okay.
Oh, it's Ricky. Well, Ricky's not even here.
No,
Neither
and his
is
iPad's right here.
Neither is his iPad, so
Okay, somebody make
we
a
have a ghost here. Proper motion made by Commissioner Mary Smith, seconded by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe. The Budget Committee being Judy Herbert as chair, Megan Guffey, David O'Neill, Mary Smith, and Rogers Anderson. Do I have any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of this committee, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Commissioner Stresser. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
21 yes, 0 no.
The Budget Committee is set. Next is the Purchasing and Insurance Committee. Got a proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Megan Guffy. That committee comprising of Jennifer Mason, Pete Stresser, Tom Tunnicliffe, Paul Webb, and Rogers Anderson. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of that committee, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
21 yes, 0 no.
And the nominations pass. Next, we have the Convention and Visitors Bureau, a 3-year term expiring 6 of 27. Term expiring is Judy Hayes. The nomination is Sharon Hatcher. I've got a proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Megan Guffy. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of that nomination, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
21 yes, 0 no.
Nomination passes. Next, we have Emergency Communications Board of Directors, Districts 1 and 2, a 4-year term expiring 3 of 28. There's a vacancy, and the nomination is Bill Jorgensen. I've got a proper motion made by Commissioner Mary Smith, seconded by Commissioner Megan Guffy. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of this nomination, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
20 yes, 1 no.
Nomination passes. Next, we have Public Safety Director. Retiring director is Bill Jorgensen. New director, Connor Scott. I have a proper motion made by Commissioner Megan Guffy, seconded by Commissioner Greg Sanford. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of this nomination, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
21 yes, 0 no.
Nomination passes. We now move on to the County Commission elections and appointments. And before we get started, I would like to ask council to give us an explanation of both these appointments and how we are to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first one that you're going to be dealing with is the Board of Education. Now, there's a lot of confusion out there as to when this position needs to be filled. It is not 120 days. That is a general rule. For the vacancy on a school board, it is at the next meeting or at a regular meeting or a special called meeting, which means if it's not done tonight, then we'll have to call a special call meeting. Okay? The question came up earlier. That's the answer. As for the public notice, state law provides that we have to provide 7 days public notice in a newspaper of general circulation. We did that. Not only did we do that, but the county commission adopted a rule that expanded that to 15 days notice. We met that. Those notices were filed June 20th in the newspaper. What will happen now is that we'll take recommendations to fill the vacancy. Once all the nominations have been made, then we will take on the votes. If there's more than two members and none of them get the majority vote of 12, then what happens is that we vote again. The person with the least amount is dropped, and we do the vote again. Is there any questions concerning how we move forward?
Let me start with Commissioner Graves.
So I intend to nominate Brooke Barrett tonight. And after being notified that this was on the agenda for tonight, I spoke with Commissioner Mason to ask her if she had anyone reach out to her to be nominated, or if she had someone that she would like to nominate. She did not. I informed her that I had this nominee because I did not feel it right to nominate either one of the current candidates that would be in the election, because I did not want it to appear as if the county commission was tampering with the election or choosing who would be in that. And so I had this nominee who is not running for office, who is not intending to run for office. And so I intend to nominate Brooke tonight. Now, Bobby, can I ask you, if I understand this correctly, if we were to vote down Brooke if she did not get enough votes to be nominated, and there were no other nominations tonight, we then would be able to have a special called meeting that could potentially be after the August 1st election to appoint then whoever won the election?
That is correct. That's a possibility.
Okay.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Answered one of my questions, but I thought of another one. So if we vote on this, do we need to, in order to do what Commissioner Graves is suggesting and have the special called meeting, do we need to vote no or abstain?
Well, your vote as abstain is going to be a no because you have to carry the 12 votes. So if you abstain, you're not counted as a yes vote. So technically, it's a no vote.
Okay.
You can defer the position, or you can vote no, or you can vote yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Richards.
Mr. Cook, which newspapers were these advertised in?
They were the Herald.
Was it more than one?
No, it's only required to be one.
Okay.
But it was in the Herald.
Okay.
On June 20th.
All right, thank you very much.
Commissioner Tunnicliffe.
I like what I just heard. All I ask is if we defer by chance, that we take into account that the county fair is going on that first 10 days, 12 days of the month, and many of us will be out there every single day with that. Just a thought.
Any other questions? I guess I want to be... Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you. I do want to echo what my counterpart has said. He did reach out to see if anybody had contacted me interested in the nomination. I told him that no, I had not heard from anybody. He informed me who he was going to nominate. I second his nomination simply because I also believe that a neutral party should be appointed if there is an appointment. Again, because the election is just around the corner, and I don't feel that it's proper for us to elect either candidate. However, given the legalese of which I heard, my understanding is that if that everyone were to abstain from the vote, we would be forced to have a special meeting in August where we could then appoint, theoretically, the winner of the election. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
Commissioner Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This may be a question for the superintendent, if I may, but I'm curious as to the impact on the August meeting for the school board in terms of a potential agenda. And where I'm going is, the concern I have about appointing somebody tonight is if an agenda is primarily policy focused, for example, I question the wisdom in putting somebody, even if they're neutral, making policy decisions for the school board. And then a question, if I may, Mr. Chair, for council is, do we have an opportunity to suspend the rules and just lay this particular item on the table indefinitely?
No, you don't.
Commissioner Sturgeon.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to say that I like the idea of waiting until after the election, because I would like to see the District 3 voters to have primary say on who takes this spot. So I just want to make it known that if I vote no for the nominee, it's not because I have anything negative to say about the nominee. It's just simply I believe we should wait and let the people choose. Thank you.
Commissioner Sanford.
Counselor, can I make a motion to defer this to August?
It needs, I don't think we've got the motion second to get it on the floor, have we?
Yeah, correct. This one hasn't.
Once we get a motion and second, then you can make a motion to defer.
I thought we couldn't motion to defer.
You can, as soon as you get it on the table. You don't have a motion and second. That's not what I said. I said you can't vote on that.
I have a proper motion made by Commissioner Mary Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jennifer Mason. And, okay, then I will give the floor back over to Commissioner Sanford.
To August 12th? Is that, no, August 19th.
So that's a motion to defer this to August 19th?
Yes, and decide whoever, let the people decide whoever wins the election will appoint to that seat.
Do I hear a second?
Wait.
Seconded by Commissioner Stresser. Who wants to speak? Okay. And I believe the superintendent would like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize for interrupting. That's actually the date our school board meeting is scheduled. So a few days ahead of that would probably be okay.
When is the meeting in August?
August 19th.
So, August 5th, I mean, we can only meet for 5 minutes.
Let me confer with Diane real quick.
I don't understand why you have to vote.
To vote to defer it?
Why do you have to vote to put the person in
You
a
don't have
special
to.
call meeting?
Because the law says it's not the 120 days when it comes to Board of
Your
Education.
election's over.
I know, but you still have your point. This meeting, when special call, Jeff and I went through this backwards and forwards, so.
What's the date?
And do you withdraw your motion for the August 19th?
Motion to defer.
I would like to withdraw the motion for the 19th and put it on the 12th, August 12th. We have to set a time right now, or can we do that later?
Commissioner Stresser, do you withdraw your second?
Yes.
We now have a proper motion to defer this to August 12th. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Commissioner Tunnicliffe. Commissioner Sanford, would you say that meeting should occur at 7 p.m.?
Again, do we have to set a time right now, Counselor?
No, sir.
I think that's to be determined.
Okay. And council has said we can make it to be determined.
That's correct. It's going to be special notice.
There'll be a special notice, if this passes, there'll be a special notice that will go out to the commissioners and the public. So right now, I have a proper motion and a second to defer this to August 12th. Any questions or comments on the motion to defer? Commissioner Mason. You moved it to
I just want to make sure I understand legally, because I've had discussions with council, and one of the discussions I had was, can we defer this? And I thought the answer was no. So I just want to make sure that we can defer this to a specially set date, because my understanding was we had to vote on a regularly scheduled meeting, which would be September. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
That's correct, but the state law provides that it's either at the next meeting or a special called meeting. Now, if
Okay.
it's under the 120-day notice, that's different.
That's different, and we're not
Okay?
under that.
We're not under that.
Okay, so we can defer this till
Correct.
after the election.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted
It
to,
needs to be appointed at special called if you don't do it tonight.
thank you.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Mason, because I was under the same false pretenses. Commissioner Graves.
Thank you, Chairman. So I will support this motion. My preference would be to do this in August, but I was under the impression we had to do it tonight, which is why I had a nominee. But my preference would be to do it in August, so I fully support this going forward.
Commissioner Richards.
I feel like I'm probably missing something. I'm sure I am. The person, whoever wins this race, is going to have already won at this point in time. So why would we even take the time to nominate if they've already won?
Again, state law provides you have to fill this at the next scheduled meeting. So is it kind of ridiculous?
Okay. All right.
State law.
Thank you. All right.
Some of those state laws can be funny sometimes. Any other questions or comments on the motion to defer? Seeing none, is this one loaded?
I know it don't have to load it.
It's not loaded, so we'll do it with a voice vote. Is that okay? Okay, I'm told we can do this with a voice vote. So the motion and the second is to defer the nomination for the 3rd District School Board seat to August 12th. If you're in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The nomination will be deferred. We move on now to the County Commissioner District of the 10th District. Stepping down is David Landrum. The nominee is Cheryl Brown. I'll entertain a motion. I have a proper motion made by Commissioner Megan Guffey. I have a second proper motion made by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe. Any questions or comments surrounding the nomination of Ms. Cheryl Brown? Commissioner Commissioner Guffey.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to echo former Commissioner David Landrum's words. When it was certain that his house had sold and that it was time for him to move on and resign, we reached out to legal counsel to discuss Tennessee Code Annotated 51104, and as well as our commission's rules, policies, and procedures. There's a little bit of difference in the District 10 versus the District 3, and I wanted to sort of illustrate those differences for us tonight. The election, the general election, because of the timing of David leaving the seat vacant, the November general election is the one that will be deciding the commission seat. But until then, District 10 will be without full representation if we don't make an appointment this evening. We've already missed June, voting meetings in June, and when we, each of us reached out into the community, we gave notice per the state code and our rules, and we interviewed several quality candidates in District 10. We have a great district. We had a thoughtful process, conferring with interested parties, and together, after we had those interviews, we came together and Cheryl Brown had risen to the top for us both. She has a proven track record of leadership and service in this community. This board is going to vote on committee meetings this evening, and District 10 would like to be represented on those committees and in those votes that come up in the next several months until the November election. And the voters will decide in November, and I'm certain that they're going to choose Cheryl Brown. But I would like to request that each of you follow the precedent and the policy that we've had on this board, that David O'Neill went through in January to fill the seat and appoint Cheryl Brown to the position. And I'm appreciative that she's willing to serve. Thank you.
Commissioner Aiello.
So I think it might have been the chair's intent to let council speak on the legalities of this position as well. So I'd like to defer to Bobby for a little bit of explanation on this vacancy appointment.
Well, it's similar to the one that you've just done. This one does fall under the 120-day rule. So you have to fill it within 120 days from the vacancy. The vacancy was, I believe, June 6th, around then. Okay, so you're within the 120 days. Again, the newspaper notices all went out. We've got copies of those. And what will happen next is that a nomination will be made, seconded, and then we'll ask for any other nominations. If there's any other nominations, then we'll get a nomination in second. And then once all the nominations have ceased, then you will vote on those candidates. If there's any questions specific to the process. You can do a roll call vote.
And with respect to nominations, those have to be sponsored by a county commissioner.
Correct. Now, the public can make a recommendation from the floor, but a county commissioner's got to make the recommendation from their seat for them to be included in the election.
Thank you.
Next, I have Commissioner Smith. Steve Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This commission has long had the responsibility and the procedure for filling unexpired terms. Years ago, I was first nominated for this seat before I later ran for election. And I plan to honor that tonight. I think to do otherwise somewhat dilutes the commission's authority. Elections will come, and commissioners will come and go. There may come a time when you as a commissioner have the responsibility for nominating someone to fill an unexpired term. And I think for the good of the commission, we should stick to our procedures. Thank you.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you. I kind of delved into the 120-day rule a little bit when I was operating under the impression that District 3 had to follow that rule. And so I want to make sure I understand, because there's been a lot of talk tonight about letting the voters decide District 10. But that election is in November, which is approximately 150 days away. So by law, we have to make an appointment before the election. So while I understand that the voters want to have a say, and I do truly, because it's exactly what I contemplated in District 10 or District 3, but that's a little bit different when the election is a week away with early voting versus 150 days, which means it's an impossibility for what the constituents are asking for. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly that if we were to wait till the November election, we would be in violation of state law because we have to do this within 120 days. Is that correct?
That is correct. You would not be fulfilling your duties as a county commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sturgeon.
I have a question because we received a email from the GOP saying they're going to do a caucus sometime in the first couple of weeks of August. So that would produce a Republican candidate. How does anybody else get on the ballot for November 15th? I'm asking legal counsel. How does that work? Does anybody?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you asking how they get on the ballot for the caucus?
For November 15th.
Right, well, the caucus...
Is there a deadline for that, where anybody else can get on?
Commissioner, I don't know. I'm not... Election laws, it's been a while, but I will tell you...
Maybe a question for Chad Gray if he's here. You're asking how somebody would run for office in the November election?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, since this was an unexpected vacancy, how was that handled
I believe it
in November?
similar to when you run for office. You have to pick up papers, get 25 signatures.
But then there's a primary. But we're already past the primary, right?
Correct, but it'll be a caucus. It'll be, I forget the actual wording of the statute.
Well, there's a caucus for the Republicans, but what about everybody else? They're going to have a caucus too?
For the Democrats, yeah. Both parties, and then you'll have independents that don't need it, that don't need that be.
Okay.
So there's nothing different than any other election except for the very first part, which you're doing now.
Gotcha.
Commissioner Mary Smith.
So my understanding, based on the email and I guess the notification that came out from Chad Gray, is that anybody who's interested in running for this position will have till August 15th to file a petition, and then until August 22nd to withdraw that petition. So at that time, we would have a good understanding, and if they were able to, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party were able to have their conventions and independents were able to pull their petitions, at that point, we would know who is interested in filling this position in District 10. So as was discussed earlier, I do think it's important to let the people have a voice. I think that's one of the reasons I know when I ran for my election, that was one of the things I was asked, is that if there was a potential for the voters to have a voice and who represents them, would I allow that to happen? And I think that it's important to allow that to happen. So what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion to defer this, since we do have time until the September meeting. I don't think it's going to hurt us to have one more meeting with the vacancy. We deal with vacancies every meeting. You know, we always have one or two people who are not in attendance, but I would like to defer this until the September to give the voters a chance to choose who they might want to nominate them, and also not to show any favoritism at this point in time if Ms. Brown would decide that she would like to run in that November general. So, the motion to defer.
Have a motion? We need a second.
Got a proper motion made by Commissioner Mary Smith, seconded by Commissioner Lawrence. Any questions or comments on the motion to defer? Commissioner Guffy.
So the motion to defer is waiting for each party and the independents to file their intent to be on the ballot in November, but
No, the motion to defer will be to the September meeting. That's still within your 120 days, but it's at the very end of your 120-day limit. So you're going to have to do it in September if you don't do it tonight.
But there won't have been an election at that point.
No.
Correct. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the motion to defer? Commissioner Aiello.
So, in looking at this particular appointment and the timing and the request for deferral, what I'm concerned about if we were to defer this particular appointment would be to defer the commission's obligations and duties on selecting someone to fill a vacancy until receiving really an outside recommendation from various parties. That is not contemplated under statute, and I think injects additional decision makers into a process that's pretty clear cut. You fill a vacancy so that District 10 has full representation to vote as to District 10 needs and responsibilities. I think deferral would be a shirking of the responsibility of each commissioner as they were elected to fulfill under their oaths of office.
Any other questions or comments on the deferral? Has it been loaded?
No, but I can roll call it if that's.
Roll call.
I can roll call.
Okay. In the interest of time, let's try a voice vote first, and if that's not a clear distinction, then we'll do a roll call vote. One last time for questions or comments on the motion to defer.
I had one more comment on the motion to defer. I'm not sure how this is much different than when we deferred the sheriff's vote. We also had an obligation to appoint at that time, but at that time, this body chose that deferring was the proper way to give the voters a chance to be heard. So I would like to point that out. In Commissioner O'Neill's, he was the only candidate at the time when his appointment was made, so it was clear. I do think, just like tonight, if we have an opportunity in September to possibly even choose somebody who's neutral, but to give people more of a chance to find nominees. I mean, I know that the notice went out, but it was also over holiday, and I think that there was not enough time, not enough public notice made to get the community involved, and I do think that deferral really is the best option.
Commissioner Guffy.
I'd like to respond to the question about the sheriff's appointment. You'll remember that when the sheriff vacancy occurred, there was an interim sheriff that was serving that role during that time, and that was the reason, and the timing of the upcoming election was just a few weeks away. And because we had an interim sheriff and because the election was so close, it was an easy, clear-cut choice. We don't have an interim person here right now. That's what we're appointing, or that's what I'm nominating to appoint tonight, is the interim person, because the election's going to happen in November regardless. Thank you.
Commissioner Hester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our rules, to me, indicate that we should appoint a commissioner this evening. District 10 needs the representation. And as Commissioner Steve Smith has said, this is our policy. The policy and our rules for appointing the sheriff is completely different. And I think our rules should be followed at the county level. Thank you.
Commissioner Sturgeon.
I'm allowed to do this, but I would request that we just do it where we all press our buttons versus going one at a time, because I believe psychologically listening to other people's votes can affect a person's vote, and I'd rather have people just vote straight out, not listening to what all their other commissioners are doing. It's just a request. I just think it's a more proper way of taking the vote.
Are you able to load it, Mr. Whitby, or?
I don't use the machine, so I don't, the mayor's office, that I don't load how it says on there, kind policy. He would change it.
We could do a show of hands.
You can do a show of hands.
Yeah, I don't use it.
agree with that.
It's going to be close. While they're looking at whether or not they could load the question, I'll go to Commissioner Richards.
I want to point out to this body that there is precedent for waiting. It was done prior to my election. The timing was different because we could wait the 120 days until I was elected, but for whatever reason, I wasn't here. You all decided to wait until I was elected. I just wanted to let everybody know that too.
Commissioner Sanford?
Counselor, just clarification again, so I can wrap my brain around this. If this commission chooses to appoint Ms. Brown tonight, the Republican Party holds a caucus whenever, in August. Those people that attend that caucus will still vote who they want to be the Republican nominee. If it's not Mrs. Brown, I would assume, and Chad Gray's not here, but that the Republican Party will pull that R from her name, and if she continues to run, she'll have to run as an independent. So in essence, the people will still make the vote of who they want to be in District 10 seat. Is that correct? Does that make sense?
That if you don't receive the party's nomination, you cannot have that designation behind your name. So it would be run as an independent should she not get either party's nomination.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Clifford?
As Commissioner Sanford was making the comments, I saw Chad back there shaking his head side to side. So if we could, I might ask
Please.
him to come up and maybe explain the process. Sorry, Chad.
Chad, you were hiding.
I was. Mr. Chairman and members, you had a question about vacancies, I think.
So,
Chad Gray, Administrator of Elections, by the way.
Commissioner Clifford still has the floor if you have a specific question, or we'll open it to others if...
I don't know if you heard Commissioner Sanford's question, so I might ask him to re-ask it, but I think we're wondering a general timeline of the election and then how the parties are involved, what happens at their caucus, and then what happens rolling to the general election date in November. If you can give us an overview of the timing, how the parties are involved, both Republican, Democrat, and I guess the independents as well.
Okay. So, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, and members, based on the timing, there's no time for a primary. So, political parties have to nominate by their own party rules through a caucus their nominees. If you wish to seek an independent candidacy, you pick up a petition in our office currently and file that qualifying petition by August 15th at 12 noon or before. If someone fails in a caucus, they are not entitled to seek an independent candidacy at all. So you either go that route or you go the independent route. There are no options there if you fail to get the nomination of your party.
She could run as an independent, though, right? Could you restate that, Chad? So if a Republican fails to get the nomination of their party for the caucus, they're unable to run as an independent either?
That's correct, because let's look at it in a primary sort of context. If you fail to get the political party primary's nomination, you can't then seek an independent candidacy because you all qualify at the same time. So it's the same sort of concept, it's just there's no primary election involved here.
Understood. Any other questions for Chad Gray? I see none.
Okay, thank you.
So we're still on the motion to defer. Any other questions on the motion to defer? And I believe it has been loaded into the system, am I correct?
Yes, sir, they got it.
And I have a question from Commissioner Hayes.
I just want to support the deferral. I think, again, we the people, I mean, if there's ever a time that's evident, it's now that we're living, looking at DC, allow the people to speak. Why are we so in a hurry? I mean, how am I I just think deferral is the best way to go. And I understand you have a hole, but right now, District 9 has a hole, and I have a hole because my partner's not here. Now, granted, it might be a little longer, but I just think it's really important right now that we look at, the people that we represent. And in District 10, I think it's best to allow them to speak and allow them to caucus. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion to defer? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of the deferral, press your yes button. If you are opposed to the deferral, press your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whidbey.
8 yes, 13 no.
Motion to defer is denied. So we're now back to the nomination. Has the nomination been made? For Cheryl Brown.
Oh, you already have the motions?
Clear.
Is there any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations for this seat? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote on the nomination of Ms. Cheryl Brown for the 10th District Commissioner seat, if you're in favor of that nomination, signify by pressing your yes button.
Hold on, he's got issues.
And I gotta change this. What is it called?
We'll wait a moment while they reload the original motion.
Yeah.
No.
Ready?
Hold on.
Tunnicliffe is the second.
Yes. So that second there needs to be on Commissioner Tunnicliffe down here. See right there? Is it Tunnicliffe? Yeah, Clerk Tunnicliffe.
I have a question or comment from Commissioner Morton while we wait for them to load.
Second.
Rules,
There you go.
and I apologize, I'm ready to vote on this. Do our rules require this to be a roll call vote? Every other nomination we've taken has been that way, but perhaps this is different because we only have one nominee in this case.
No, there is no requirement for this to be a roll call vote.
Has it been loaded properly? Okay, so it's been loaded properly, and we will vote using the machines. No. So if you're in favor, once again, of the nomination of Cheryl Brown to fill the vacancy on the County Commission for the 10th District, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whidbey.
14 yes, 3 no, 4 abstain.
Nomination passes.
What else do we want to do?
I'll call upon Mayor Rogers Anderson at this time. We're going to be taking one in just a few minutes anyway to make the committee rounds. So give us 5 minutes.
Cheryl, would you please raise your hand and repeat after me? I,
I,
Cheryl, your name,
Cheryl Brown,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will perform
that I will perform
with fidelity
with fidelity
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
and which I'm about to assume.
and which I am about to assume.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to support the
to
constitutions
support the Constitution
of Tennessee
of Tennessee
and the United States,
and the United States
and to faithfully perform
and to faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of the County Commissioner
of the County Commissioner
representing the 10th District
representing the 10th District
of Williamson County.
of Williamson County.
Congratulations. Take your seat.
Yes, ma'am, no worries.
Adrian. She's ready.
I've got her package.
Yeah, she's ready.
We just have one more vote.
Then we're gonna recess right now.
Well, they're gonna do one here in a second, because they're the committees, they'll do that now.
Commission, Cheryl takes her seat. We just have one more vote to make under elections and commissions, and then we'll automatically be taking a break as we divide up to form the committee meetings. I know several of you want to take a break. If you'll just give us 5 more minutes, we'll take that break here momentarily.
I think we're in recess.
I think we are. Should I go ahead?
Make a sweat.
All we have is the judicial.
It's okay, just do it. They're not here. Just take a recess. Everybody's.
And second thought, let's go ahead and take a 10-minute recess at this time. We'll reconvene in 10 minutes. commissioners can start making their way back to their seats, we'll reconvene. Once again, if the commissioners can start making their way back to their seats.
They don't hear you, you gotta bang it.
I already did.
It didn't work.
Commissioner Hayes, Commissioner Sturgeon. That's right. All right.
We're gonna have to get the policeman.
Yeah. I'll see Greg Sanford's walking away. They're all in the donut room.
Well, the donuts are for Carolyn, because today's her birthday.
Ah, okay.
Actually, Brian just brought them, but I told Carolyn they were for her because I couldn't get to do anything for her birthday. Where's her going? You just called her out.
Herbert.
Just start talking.
All right, we're going to reconvene now. We do have one more election and appointment to get through before we break into our groups to form our committee meetings. So if you'll come back to your chairs, we'll do one more vote and then we'll take another recess. What's
The
that?
last vote, if I need to update my vote, I hit the wrong button. I meant to say no and I abstained.
Okay, it's
Same thing.
Except doesn't another button, I just.
We'll make that note.
Okay.
It is a
I
nice
mean, it is except doesn't another.
Saying however instead of but.
Whatever. I just want to make.
All right.
Noted.
Thank you.
Is the judicial one loaded? Okay. We're now going to make the appointment of the judicial commissioner. It's a one-year term expiring 7 of 25. The nomination is Tahore Amato. I've got a proper motion made by Commissioner Drew Torres, seconded by Commissioner Lisa Hayes. Any questions or comments on this nomination? I see none. If you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of the nomination, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Guess mark Commissioner Hester absent. There she is. Let's see if she gets to her chair before they mark her as absent.
Yeah, just.
There we go. Call the vote, please, Mr. Whidbey.
20 yes, 1 abstain, 1 out.
And the nomination passes. All right, now is the time in the meeting where we're going to break up into groups.
I'm gonna raise
A pseudo recess, if you will. We'll pair off into districts 1 and 2, districts 3 and 4, districts 5 and 6, districts 7 and 8, districts 9 and 10, and districts 11 and 12 for the purposes of placing your names into the various committees, those being Rules, Steering, Human Resources, and Parks and Recreation. In your packet is a list of those who can be nominated and those who cannot because they've served recently. Try to use those. And also, while everybody is so intently listening, make sure you appoint a speaker on behalf of your paired districts to then call out the names of the individuals you've selected for each committee. We'll take a 10-minute recess to get this done. We'll reconvene at 9:20. All right. Have all the pairings been able to make their decisions? Anyone still working? Okay. I will call out each committee meeting, and then I'll ask for the pairings to designate their speakers so Diane can turn their microphone on. And but wait, does that help? And then they'll go through.
You're gonna say 1 and 2, and they'll give me a name, and I'll circle it, 3 and 4, and I'll circle it, and then you're gonna read them all, and then we vote.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with the Rules Committee, Districts 1 and 2. Who is your speaker? Judy Herbert. And go ahead and recite your nominees.
Just one.
Judy Herbert, yes.
3 and 4.
Districts 3 and 4.
That will be Pete Stresser.
Districts 5 and 6.
Greg Sanford.
Districts 7 and 8.
Tom Tunnicliffe.
Districts 9 and 10.
Matt Williams.
Districts 11 and 12. For rules.
Sean Iola.
So for the Rules Committee, I have Commissioner Judy Herbert, Commissioner Pete Stresser, Commissioner Greg Sanford, Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe, Commissioner Matt Williams, Commissioner Sean Iola. Do I need to get a motion? Need a motion and a second. Motion made by Commissioner Torres, seconded by Commissioner Morton. Any questions or comments on these nominees? Voice vote?
Yeah.
All right, seeing none, we'll do this by voice. If you're in favor of these nominees for the Rules Committee, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Rules Committee is established. Moving on to steering. Districts 1 and 2. Districts 3 and 4.
Jeff Graves.
Districts 5 and 6.
Mary Smith.
District 7 and 8.
Barb Sturgeon.
District 9 and 10.
Chaz Morton.
And District 11 and 12.
Brian Beck.
So for the steering committee, I have Commissioners Lisa Hayes, Commissioner Jeff Graves, Commissioner Mary Smith, Commissioner Bob Sturgeon, Commissioner Chaz Morton, and Commissioner Brian Beathard. Do I have a proper motion and second?
Barb Sturgeon, you said Bob.
I said Bob? Barb Sturgeon, sorry.
That's his
It's been,
accent.
It was cute, though.
oh, thank you.
Bob.
So moved.
Got a motion made by Commissioner Tunnicliffe, seconded by Commissioner Morton. Any questions or comments on these nominees? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of these nominees for the steering committee, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Steering committee is established. Next, we have Human Resources Committee, Districts 1 and 2. Districts 3 and 4. Districts 5 and 6.
Paul Webb.
Districts 7 and 8.
Drew Torres.
District 9 and 10. And Districts 11 and 12.
Brian Clifford.
So for the Human Resources Committee, I have Commissioners Betsy Hester, Commissioner Greg Lawrence, Commissioner Paul Webb, Commissioner Drew Torres, Commissioner Megan Guffy, and Commissioner Brian Clifford. Do I have a proper motion and second?
Motion.
Motion made by
Sanford.
Commissioner Sanford, seconded by Commissioner Hayes. Any questions or comments on this committee? Nominees? Seeing none, if you're in favor of these nominees for the Human Resources Committee, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the Human Resources Committee is established. Last, we have Parks and Recreation Committee, Districts 1 and 2.
Ricky Jones.
Districts 3 and 4.
Jennifer Mason.
Districts 5 and 6.
David O'Neill.
Districts 7 and 8.
Chris Richards.
Districts 9 and 10.
Cheryl Brown.
And Districts 11 and 12.
Steve Smith.
So for the Parks and Recreation Committee, I have Commissioners Ricky Jones, Commissioner Jennifer Mason, Commissioner David O'Neill, Commissioner Chris Richards, Commissioner Cheryl Brown, and Commissioner Steve Smith. I'll entertain a proper motion and second. Motion made by Commissioner Mary Smith. Seconded by Commissioner Greg Sanford. Any questions or comments on these nominees? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of these nominees for the Parks and Recreation Committee, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the Parks and Recreation Committee is established. Where are we now?
First resolution.
Oh, yeah.
Now we got resolution.
Well, consent agenda first and then resolutions.
Yeah.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Packets were mailed out to each of you. I'll entertain a motion. Motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Lawrence. Is it loaded? Any questions or comments on the consent agenda while they load it?
He's still on recess. Consent, Adrian. Voice
We'll
vote.
do a voice vote on this one. All those in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Mayor Rogers Anderson.
Approved a new public safety director. And when you have a new public safety director, you have one leaving. And Bill Jorgensen, who has served this county for 30-plus years, has done about everything from firefighting out on the line to the 911 center director. I would like to call him up, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, to give him his recognition. We're having a retirement party for him Friday at 11 o'clock at the Public Safety Building. If you would like to attend, I'm sure there'll be some cake and punch.
That's not the right date.
What did I say, Friday the 12th?
No, that's the incorrect date.
Okay.
Bill, would you tell him when your retirement?
Wednesday at 2, excuse me. On my calendar, it says,
It says Friday is his last day.
yes. Anyway, Bill, you might have two parties. But I do want to take a little personal privilege because I didn't want to announce this, assuming what all went on in the voting with the third district school board and all of the county commission. But Bill has served faithfully to this county. He's born and raised here. He will be greatly missed. His replacement has been with him now for several weeks, learning the ropes, learning where the new stations, all of the communications. I appreciate very much you allowing him to be put on the 911 board. Once his last day is here, he will go on the 911 board and brings a lot of history to that. So I would ask if you would allow me, Mr. Chairman, to let Bill say a few parting words, because this will be his last county commission meeting unless he gets bored and wants to come to a county commission meeting down the road. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me get out my teleprompter here. I did bring a few words just in case you asked me to speak, and I appreciate the opportunity. And I have enjoyed for the last 35 years coming to work every day. I've also enjoyed going home every day. So I come to work with a smile, and I'd go home with a smile for sure. And the opportunity that has been given to me, I've just been blessed to be able to come to work and work for Williamson County and serve Williamson County in different capacities. I started in Williamson County as a telecommunicator answering 911, and then moved from there. And I appreciate the different county executives and mayors, and especially Mayor Anderson, who taught me a very wise lesson on timing. Everything's about timing. So my retirement is about timing, and it's time to move on. And we've had a great opportunity, as the mayor mentioned, to transition and leaving things in great hands, I feel, with Connor. I do just a couple things about the team at the Public Safety Center. I am so blessed to be working with that team, and I don't think there's been a better team assembled, looking every day, planning, and looking at public safety across this county. But there's a bigger team, and I call it Team Williamson. And Team Williamson includes the mayor's office, Diane, and all those folks, and all the directors of this county. And actually includes the county commission, legal counsel, HR, everybody. And that's Team Williamson. And Team Williamson is critical to the success for all of us. So when Team Williamson is all working together and everything's running like a well-oiled machine, we get stuff done in Williamson County. The department heads in this county are a cohesive group of people. They don't work in silos, and they all complement each other. And Mayor Anderson has done a great job of assembling those group of people. Just two quick comments that I'll always remember about the county commission, and one's about Clyde Lynch. Back in the 90s, we asked for computers to go in emergency vehicles. And I will quote the late Commissioner Lynch, and he said, "I have never seen a computer save somebody's life." I would love for him to be around now and be able to see how computers save lives every day in Williamson County. And a lot of that's a credit to the county commissioners taking a little risk with public safety. And when we asked for those items, that it did get approved, even though there may have been one no vote. The other item was back in 2011, and I wish Commissioner Williams was here. His father, Ernie Williams, who was in place after his wife Nancy passed away. We asked for 20 chairs, and this is when we were still in the basement of this facility, and we needed 20 chairs for the Emergency Operations Center. We catch so much flack about those chairs. We got it approved, and the county commission had to take a little risk and vote for 20 chairs. If Ernie could see the 111 chairs that are in the current Emergency Operations Center right now, I think that would be great. But my final comment is that we should not forget where the county has been. And I heard legal counsel at the last county commission meeting say, brought a historical perspective to a discussion y'all were having. Because to know where you are going, you must know where you have been. And sometimes we forget about our history, but it's important to keep that into perspective. Mr. Mayor, thank you again for supporting me in our office, and thank you, commissioners. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Mr. Jorgensen, and thank you for all your many years of service. It's been a pleasure working with you. Mayor Rogers Anderson, do you want to introduce us to the replacement that we voted on tonight?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. I think most of you have seen him at different meetings. His name is Connor Scott. I'll let you let him, if you'll allow me a few minutes, to introduce himself. He's settled into the Thompson Station area. He has a wife that was born and raised in this community, so he was chosen over many, many people that we interviewed, and I'm looking forward to working with Connor. Connor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you all. Connor Scott. I come from 20 years of public service as a firefighter, an emergency medical technician, and a certified emergency manager in Pennsylvania and Maryland. In my time as an emergency manager, had the opportunity to directly manage 4 federally declared disasters, had opportunities to deploy. I went to New York for Hurricane Sandy, went to the Florida Keys for Hurricane Irma, many other missions. But most importantly, I grew up in Bellevue, right off of Highway 100, so right across the county line, and my family and I probably spent more time in Franklin than we did in Nashville. So this is coming home to me for a lot of reasons. My family has always remained in Middle Tennessee, so I've been back for holidays, vacations, and just am honored to serve the community. I'm grateful for my time with Director Jorgensen, to be able to transition with him, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. All right, next item on the agenda, if it pleases the commission, will be our first resolution for the evening. Resolution 724-1, resolution accepting a donation on behalf of Williamson County Animal Center and appropriating and amending the 24-25 Animal Center budget by $6,103, revenues to come from donations. Proper motion made by Commissioner Megan Guffy, seconded by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe. Public Health Committee did not meet. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
These are kind donations from Dan Cupperell and the Sexton Family Giving Fund for 2 Get Acquainted rooms.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 724-2, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 capital project budget by $460,000, revenues to come from unappropriated solid waste sanitation fund balance. Proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
These are capital funds for roll-off trucks, 2 of them.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Commissioner Hester. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 724-3, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Agriculture on behalf of the Williamson County Animal Center and appropriating and amending the 24-25 Animal Center's budget by $1,300, revenues to come from grant funds. Proper motion made by Commissioner Greg Lawrence, seconded by Commissioner Steve Smith. The Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Chaz Morton.
State grant, no matching funds, low-cost dog and cat sterilization.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 724-4, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with Middle Tennessee State University concerning opioid abatement grantee data tracking and evaluation and amending and appropriating the 24-25 budget by $61,850 for these services, revenues to come from opioid settlement funds. Proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe. The opioid task force was 5-4-0 against. The Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
I believe everybody received copies of the agreements this afternoon that were sent out to us. This just allows MTSU to collect data that will be used to further these opioid funds. So we use them for the best use for citizens of our county.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes vote button, and if no if you're against it. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 724-5, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 capital projects budget by $6,438,685, revenues to come from county general fund balance. Proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Cheryl Brown. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Approved by this body earlier in the year, and so this is just appropriating the funds.
Any questions? Have a question from Commissioner Herbert.
Board.
Good evening.
Sheriff Hughes, you're asking for 9 new vehicles that are almost $89,000 each. Do you realize how many sheriff's vehicles you've got sitting over on Beasley Drive?
Yes, ma'am, I do, and
How many do you show?
yeah, if I may, we are in the process. You'll have this coming to you probably in September. We're preparing our surplus list for vehicles that are end of life. We've got some that will be going to county auction, and then we've got others that will be going to, we'll be asking you to approve for donation to departments who have vehicles in worse condition than the ones that we're surplusing. Also, to your point, in the last committee meeting we had, it was brought up that just because those vehicles were included in the request with the additional personnel, the odds of us filling all of those positions in this coming fiscal year is probably not going to happen, simply because we can't get those folks into training. So we will likely not buy those vehicles until they're needed, which would be later, much later in the fiscal year, probably the third or fourth quarter perhaps, if at all, in this fiscal year. So we want to be sure that we don't buy those vehicles if we don't actually need them.
Okay, well, I went over there and counted, and there was almost 60 vehicles over there. I mean, do you have that many? I mean, do all of them have how much mileage on them? The reason you can't, why can't you use, I know there's some were wrecked, I understand that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, was the mileage that high on 60 vehicles?
No, ma'am, and I'm not prepared to speak to that tonight. I would have been happy to prepare a report and bring you a detailed itemization of how many vehicles we actually have, the year, make, and model, and the mileage of all of those vehicles. With ample time, I'm happy to prepare that, and that's something that I think we need to take a close look at. So that, you know, unfortunately, in my short term, I know I can't play this card over and over again, but that hadn't been the highest thing on my priority list in my first couple of months in office.
I understand that. I just want to make sure you don't buy these vehicles until all of those, you made sure you can't use those.
You have my assurance on that. It's definitely on my to-do list, and it keeps moving up. It just hadn't rose to the point, but I did give the instruction that I did not want to buy those vehicles until, you know, I sign off on every purchase. So I don't want to okay those purchases until I know that we actually need those vehicles.
Okay, and then my other question, which it goes back to the next resolution, these are like almost 89,000, and the next resolution, there's 73. So is it that much difference in the equipment? The reason these are so, you've got these priced so much higher than the next resolution?
What are you referring to? Is that vehicle cost?
Yeah. One, on the replacement vehicles on the next resolution, there's 73,000, and on this one, they're 88,500.
Well, those, I might refer to my finance personnel, Jennifer Davis. She might have a better answer than me, because those numbers were provided to me, and the cost of a full-time equivalent, those vehicles were figured in with that cost. I don't know why one cost would be different than the other. Is there a reason that you're aware of?
Commissioners, thank you. Commissioner Herbert, so the 89 would be with full equipment. It's new positions, so that includes everything from the MDTs, the radars, all of the safety equipment. On the replacement vehicles, they take equipment out and put that in and repurpose that equipment. So there is a higher cost of equipment that goes in brand-new position vehicles, and that's what these 9 are new position vehicles.
So you can use the equipment from those that are wrecked and got too many miles?
Potentially, yes. Yeah, and I would say this. It's my understanding we don't put MDTs, which is a mobile data terminal, in SRO vehicles, so in court services vehicles. So there's some vehicles that don't have the capability that, say, a patrol deputy would have. Though that technology does not exist in those vehicles. We're not putting them in every vehicle. Now, that gives me a little heartburn, quite honestly, is because the public, when they see a marked unit out here, they don't know that person is in one division compared to another. They just think that they're there and they can do the same things interchangeably, and that's not the case. So that's something that we're looking at as well.
Well, then that leads me to another question. And do you give the new vehicles to the SROs?
No.
Okay, I wanted to make sure, because they're just going back and forth to home on those.
We give those guys the high mileage vehicles.
Okay.
That's what's historically been done, and I think that's a good practice.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sanford.
Yes, this is a question for the mayor. Under this line item 51760, information technology, who is that? Or is that just in general, everybody, or?
That's our IT department.
Okay, I guess my question is, why are we giving the IT department $4,300 radios. You got 6 Motorola Apex 900 series portable radios for $26,000. Why does the IT department need $4,300 radios when we don't have radios enough for the fire department? I'm confused.
So, Director Hoffman is not here this evening, but a lot of these projects are for the county-wide, so they are administered through the IT department, but this may be for, a server or something in my department or radios in public safety. So he administers the project, but they are throughout for other departments as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whidbey.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7246, resolution of the intent to fund certain county general projects totaling $34,711,427 and a bond or note issue. Proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Megan Guffey. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
You will see the various projects listed there. Of note, $9.5 million of those dollars for the Bethesda project are not until 25-26, so those won't be part of the bond issue. But this is just the intent to fund for the full $34 million.
Got a question from Commissioner Graves.
Question, just a statement. Since I am unable, due to my employment, to vote on the bond issues, I will also abstain from the intent to fund them, being that we're intending to fund them with a bond issue. So I just wanted to let that be known.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. No, I'm sorry. We did have a question from Commissioner Mary Smith.
Yeah, so, and I know that this was brought up tonight by one of the commoners, but when we do the intent to fund, do we actually go out and take a bond out for that this year? So is this everything we're planning on going to bond for in October, November? Or are we only going to be requesting a bond for everything minus the 9.5?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. We will actually be going to bond for the intent to funds you have this evening. This one including minus the 950 or the 9.5. So for the county, that would bring a total for bonding this fiscal year of $25,211,427. We also had 2 intents that were approved in May for the schools. Those also would be added to the intent or to the bond issue that we come to you in November for.
Okay. And what was the total with the school? I think you gave us this one before.
Including what you have in front of you this evening, if everything is approved, the total bond we are looking to go to market for is $62,653,845. And that is the intent you have in front of you, minus the 9.5, and then the next 2 ones, I think there's one more for the school that you have later to hear this evening.
Okay. And I don't have the budget in front of me, but I think we're paying off about $50 million in principal this year. Is that correct?
I think that's pretty close,
51 million?
yes.
Okay. So
we are paying 49.96.
Okay, so we're looking at about possibly 13
Right, in the
million
difference, yes.
more in our total debt. Well, so my concern is that, I don't know, I'm not against, I think, the Bethesda people deserve to get a library and new Parks and Rec. But my concern is the report that we got from the Sheriff's Department or last Triple J project, where I think some of the circumstances were described as dire circumstances with regards to any sort of failure. And so my concern is the prioritization here, and that if we don't prioritize any sort of bond debt we might have to take out to do those capital improvements if something should happen, it just feels like we're not prioritizing the things that we have to do right now, those things that are in front of us, and we're prioritizing things that we could possibly wait on, or we could possibly look for different funding alternatives. So I guess what I would like to do is I would like to propose an amendment just for now, because I think can't really do a deferral, but can I amend this current request just to put on hold the 22.5 and amend that to be 12,211,427 until we at least get an opportunity to see what's in front of us with the jail project? that we'll be discussing in September? Because it's in October, right? We would have an opportunity to vote again on the Bethesda Library and
Yes,
Parks
you
and
will
Rec.
still have to, we'll come back with an initial bond resolution. So this is just the intent. We would come back again with the final numbers once you've approved everything, and we'd come back and you would approve at that time or not.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to defer just to get more information and make sure that, we're prioritizing the needs.
Defer or amend?
I'm sorry, amend. Yeah, thank you. Amend.
And say the amendment again.
Amend the amount to $12,211,427.
All right, I have a proper motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Stresser. Any questions or comments on the motion to amend? Commissioner Herbert on the motion to amend?
I don't know how many of y'all have been out to the Bethesda Rec Center. It's in a 90-year-old building. It's in terrible shape. The library is so small that, they've had to replace computers where the roof leaks. You just can't imagine how old it is. It's built from an old school. And I think that's not right. Nolensville got their new rec center a few years back. What makes it any different than Bethesda getting theirs? And it's not fair to do this to the people of Bethesda. They have waited many, many, many years for this. And I can't even begin how upset I am that somebody would suggest that Bethesda should have to wait. Because it's not just Bethesda. It's Bethesda, College Grove, Spring Hill, Thompson Station. All of those cities will use this. And how Spring Hill's growing at Thompson Station, there'll probably be a lot more people from there at this center than Bethesda. So I'm asking you to vote against this budget reduction.
Commissioner Hayes on the amendment?
Yes, so just to get clarification, what are we taking off? What are we wanting to amend to take off until October? That's on this list? Is that the library and the Parks and Rec amounts?
Correct. And to just hold off just a few more months, as DB had said, we can still vote to do this in September or October. If we can. Right now, I am concerned about what the jail project's going to come back at and what the plan looks like with that and how we can fund this.
Commissioner Guffy on the amendment?
Yeah, just clarification on the amendment. So typically when we see these, we have a meeting where we vote on the intent, and then we have a meeting where you come back and you vote to actually appropriate.
Yes,
Is
we
that
do.
right?
Correct.
And if we were to defer, then that means that we're pushing appropriations further back as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Sturgeon on the amendment?
I think my question was answered. I was trying to understand how we came out with the 12 million to 11.
Commissioner Lawrence on the amendment?
Yes, I'd just like for Gord to come up and speak to the fact that a lot of times our rec centers actually pay for themselves with cash flow from the fees we get. So this might be a revenue neutral bond issue, actually, so we're not going backwards here.
So, Commissioner Lawrence, when we generate revenue, it doesn't go into any appropriation. It goes into the general fund. So they aren't necessarily earmarked to offset, bond debt or operating. It goes directly into the general fund. Traditionally, you bring a new rec center like that online, the revenue that it'll generate during the course of a year, be over $1 million. It could go up or down, just depending, on the programming and everything like that. So although we cover operating, we do not cover salaries. So if we bring a new facility online to serve the south end of the county, which is much needed, it will definitely be able to cover its operating expenses, but probably would not be able to cover bond debt or all the salaries.
Okay, so we really wouldn't be able to generate enough income to if we were to be able to pay for the bond issue with it, we wouldn't be able to do that.
So if you just look at our budget in general, which is, we'll use round numbers, $20 million is what you'll approve, what you just got through approving in July. The revenues that we collected during the fiscal year, July 1 through June 30, was over 11 million. So, we had cost recovery of over 50%. And of that 20 million, the breakdown between salaries and operating costs are, about 55 to 60% salaries, 40% operating costs. So depending on how Phoebe might want to look at that, we are covering all of our operating costs, and then that other, 10 to 15%, you could maybe look at it that it could be used for bond debt repayment, but that's not up to the Director of Parks to decide how to use those funds. But traditionally, we are operating at about 57%, between 57% cost recovery.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gordon.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Graves.
Gordon, this is for you as well. Thank you, Chairman. So the Bethesda Rec Center is already under construction, correct?
The rec center is not under construction. So what we've had to do for the Bethesda project is first we had to purchase the property. And then because of the timeline for this, COVID hit. So we had to do this in phases. So the first phase were soccer fields, which we are, still working that out. The second phase was the infrastructure for restrooms, pickleball courts, tennis facility, and parking, and all the lighting for that. So those two phases are almost complete. We're working on the punch list right now. Phase 3, which is the most expensive part of the project, is the rec center and library, and that is what we are intending to fund. So part of it is funded, and the reason that we pulled the $9.5 million out is because, a few months ago in the budget process, when we were looking at capital, the commission, through the budget committee, decided that they did not want to have more bond debt than they did last year. And so I felt like with the timing and working through this process that we could extend some of this funding out into the budget year instead of 24-25, we could push some of this out into 25-26. So I volunteered to pull that $9.5 million, which put the total amount for bond debt under the amount which was the target goal for the budget committee. And I felt like that was very easy to accomplish because, we wouldn't be borrowing the money and knowing that we would be able to spend it even one more year out. So I think it's a smart way to finance. We're not over borrowing too soon, and the project timeline will allow us to get it started, and then it's going to bleed over into a whole nother budget process. But that's the reason why the intent to fund is so important, because when we put this out, or when oversight puts this out to bid, and we select a construction manager, we're not going to exceed the dollar amount. We just can't. We will not come back to this body and say, we need more money. So we've always done our projects this way, and that's how we'll do it. So to your point, the actual construction of the rec center has not started yet.
All right, last question then. If this were to be pulled out, how does that affect the timing of the construction of the rec center, but also, more importantly, for that area, the bringing online of the fields, which are probably more important, I would say, than the actual building? Would it delay being able to use the fields there from pushing it back, or how would that look?
No, by pushing it back, it will not affect phases 1 and 2 at all.
Commissioner Sturgeon.
I really appreciate talking with Gordon the other day because I had a lot of questions, but our conversation was cut short. And I was interested in how we came up with the estimate or the 19.5 million for Phase 3. If you could just pick that back up again and explain how we arrived at 19.5 plus 3 million for the project.
Yes, Commissioner Sturgeon, she and I talked last Friday, I believe, and, as I was trying to explain to her, when we put this project together, there was a wish list. This goes all the way back to having public meetings with the Bethesda community. We had several public meetings. We had several public several public meetings, and during that, there was a wish list for things that they needed for the south end of the county. When we took that, we worked with consultants and architects to get a budget cost to try to get as many of those things brought online as possible. So that's where we derived the total amount for the entire project, and it was going to be, $30+ million. So we've been funding this for the past several years, and this is just the balance of what's left to finish this rec center off. And so what we want to try to do is make this rec center be compatible with the other large regional rec centers, because if you don't know the inventory, there's only one full true rec center serving the entire south end of the county, just one. And, using aquatics as an example, we have, every high school has a swim team. Now, they don't recognize them because it's not a TSSAA sport, but every high school has a swim team. Every middle school in the county, with the exception, I believe, of Fairview, has a swim team. The only place that these folks have to train is in our facilities. In the south end of the county, there are only 6 lanes serving almost 6 schools. A lot of those people are having to get in cars, get on I-65, teenagers, and drive to the indoor sports complex to be able to train. I could just give you example after example of how this facility will serve the entire south end of the county. It's not just going to be the Bethesda community. On Crites Lane, there are subdivisions and developments popping up everywhere, and there's more to come. You've seen where the urban growth boundaries, where they're pushing out to. So saying all of that, the amount of money that we asked for was determined through public meetings, making the rec center compatible, because we know what the needs and services are that we need to deliver on that end of the county, and that dollar amount will make that work.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the amendment? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of the amendment to reduce the total, what?
It's not up there. There you go.
It's loaded.
Is that the correct amount, Commissioner Smith? Just to make sure.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So once again, if you're in favor of the amendment to reduce the overall amount of this resolution, signify by pressing your yes button. If you're against it, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
7 yes, 14 no, 1 abstain.
Amendment fails. We're back to the regular resolution at the total amount of $34,711,427. Any questions or comments? A question from Commissioner Mary Smith.
Yeah, I had another question for Gordon. So thank you for the explanation on really the project and what it's going to bring to that community. Like I said, I'm not against bringing a Parks and Rec to Bethesda, to that area. Have we ever considered a partnership with like a YMCA or something to kind of help us fund some of these facilities that we need, or maybe not the Y, but somebody to kind of help us out with these types of projects?
So, Commissioner, I've been in Parks and Recreation since 1980. Metro Parks in Nashville. I was in the private sector for 4 years, and I've been here for 30. And I've been to conventions and pretty well versed in how Parks and Recreation works. Very rarely are there public-private park ventures, because the money, you can't publicly fund something to support the private sector. Now, there are a lot of municipalities that partner with counties and different things like that, but I can't tell you of any, I can't name a single private public park district in the country.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hayes.
Thank you. Question about I guess the AOC is the administrative office, right? Wing renovation for the 4th floor. So what exactly, well, that's not really for you. Sorry, Gordon. You could run now. I don't know who could answer, but what type of renovations are we doing for $800,000? I'm just kind of curious. If anybody can add a little context.
Commissioner Kevin would normally answer that, but I think he had to go. So in this facility that we have here, we try to renovate different offices at different times, and the 4th floor is the next we have in line to completely re-gut that. We will move those people down to our basement side, which is semi-vacant, and wherever we can find space to put a more modern area of which to have our employees work in an environment. We have postponed this for a couple of, well, I guess it's been close to 4 years now that we've done any major remodeling here for our employees, and it just is that period of time we've got to keep up with the things. And those are the estimates that we feel. We actually do all that. We'll subcontract it out, but Kevin will oversee the work.
Any other questions or comments on the full resolution? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
19 yes, 1 no, 2 abstain.
Resolution passes. Resolution 724-7, resolution requesting an intent to fund for $13,155,596 for the Williamson County Board of Education's 24-25 capital needs. Proper motion made by Commissioner Tunnicliff, seconded by Commissioner Guffy. School Board was 11-4, 0 against. Budget Committee was 5-4, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Again, these are just capital for their schools.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
21 yes, 1 abstain.
Resolution passes. Resolution 724-8, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 capital projects budget by $351,651 for the purchase of fire equipment, revenues to come from fire protection privilege tax funds. Proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Megan Guffey. Budget Committee was 5-4, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
New vehicles being paid for by privilege tax.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready, oh, sorry, got a question from Commissioner Sanford.
Apparatus fleet management, what vehicle is that?
Who can answer that one?
Thank you, Commissioner. We have 3 EMA vehicles that are currently on order, and this is to outfit those vehicles with the equipment necessary to operate them.
And the vehicles have already been paid for?
Yes, they have.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 724-9, resolution appropriating $4,500,000 of education privilege tax and $700,000 of adequate school facilities privilege tax funds and appropriating the related operating transfers for the 24-25 rural debt service expenditures. Proper motion made by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliff, seconded by Commissioner Megan Guffey. Budget Committee was 5-4, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
The privilege tax is being used for debt service.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-2410, resolution appropriating $3,800,000 of adequate school facilities privilege tax funds and appropriating the related operating transfer for 24-25 general debt service expenditures. Proper motion made by Commissioner Torres, seconded by Commissioner Guffy. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Caption says it all.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-2411, resolution amending the 24-25 capital projects budget and appropriating up to $2,700,000 for major corridor study projects and the purchase of new equipment. Revenues to come from unappropriated highway fund balance. Proper motion made by Commissioner Torres, seconded by Commissioner Tunnicliffe. Highway Commission was 5-4-0 against. Budget Committee 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
This is continuing some corridor studies, also buying some equipment for the roads department.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Commissioner Hayes. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-2412, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development and appropriating and amending the 24-25 capital projects budget by $312,454.21. Proper motion made by Commissioner Lisa Hayes, seconded by Commissioner Barb Sturgeon. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
This one does have a match from us of 10% that has already been budgeted in. It'll do Wi-Fi out at Burwood.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-2413, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development and appropriating and amending the 24-25 Parks and Recreation budget by $100,000. Proper motion made by Commissioner Tom Tunnicliffe, seconded by Commissioner Cheryl Brown. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
This one does not require matching funds, and it's for Wi-Fi services for Parks and Rec.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-2414, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 Register of Deeds budget by $158,448. Revenues to come from document recording fees. Proper motion made by Commissioner Cheryl Brown, seconded by Commissioner Barb Sturgeon. Our Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Register of Deeds collects $2 every time you record something. They're using those funds for some maintenance and repairs and some employee costs.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Commissioner Morton. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
You're going to have to.
Oh, Matt Williams is not showing his.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-2415, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 capital projects budget by $500,000 for the purchase of various parks and recreation equipment. Revenues to come from recreation privilege tax funds. Proper motion made by Commissioner Sturgeon, seconded by Commissioner Tunnicliffe. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Again, this is our privilege tax funds. I was sure all those people that were here earlier were there for the aqua bikes for classes, but they've all left, so aqua bikes will be purchased.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72416, resolution amending the 24-25 juvenile services budget in the amount of $192,000, revenues to come from state grant funds. Proper motion made by Commissioner Lisa Hayes, seconded by Commissioner Cheryl Brown. Law Enforcement and Public Safety was 5-4-0 against. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
This is a prevention grant from the Department of Children's Services to Juvenile Services that funds 2 intensive probation positions and services for the most at-risk children. There are no matching funds.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72417, resolution amending the 24-25 Sheriff's Office budget by $1,368,796 for the second year annual lease purchase with Axon, Inc. Revenues to come from general fund balance. Proper motion made by Commissioner Sturgeon, seconded by Commissioner Graves. Law Enforcement was 5-4-0 against. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
So lease purchase agreement with Axon, Inc. for body cameras, interview room cameras, tasers, and related software to be used in law enforcement operations.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72418, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 Circuit Court Clerk's budget by $25,000, revenues to come from reserve account. Proper motion made by Commissioner Sturgeon, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
There's just need for some additional equipment for the Circuit Court Clerk's office.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Commissioner Tunnicliffe. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72431, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 Health Department budget by $5,500, revenues to come from donations. Proper motion made by Commissioner Paul Webb, seconded by Commissioner Lisa Hayes. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Webb.
Mr. Chair, you can see this is a donation regarding suicide prevention be administered by the County Health Department.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72432, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 County Clerk's budget by $50,000 for equipment and maintenance costs, revenues to come from filing fees. Proper motion made by Commissioner Paul Webb, seconded by Commissioner Barb Sturgeon. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Webb.
This is the County Clerk's office using the recording fees for office expenditures.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Late filed resolution 72433, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 Parks and Capital Improvement Program by $120,000. Revenues to come from reserves. Proper motion made by Commissioner Webb, seconded by Commissioner Tunnicliffe. The Parks and Rec Committee did not meet. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Webb.
As you can see, the town of Nolensville contributed $120,000 toward the Nolensville Recreational Complex, and we're very thankful for the folks in Nolensville for contributing to this county facility.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72419, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute. Oh. Yeah, it's in the back of my packet, I think. Forgive me, we're on to late filed resolution 72435, resolution appropriating and amending the 24-25 County General Miscellaneous Crime Stoppers budget by $1,000. Revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Proper motion made by Commissioner Steve Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jeff Graves. No committee met on this. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Yeah, it appears we had some damage. They think it was caused by arson, so this will put $1,000 towards Crime Stoppers. Hoping we can find out who did it.
Question from Commissioner Sanford.
Sure. Do you, when you want to fund an issue like this, do you have to come before the commissioner? Is there a pot of money already in there so y'all can hand out at will, or how does that work with Crime Stoppers?
They operate aside from the sheriff's department, from my understanding, and they do have a pot of money, and they vote on what they allocate. I think it's up to $1,000 for information that leads to the conviction of a crime. They have a chairman and a board that meet monthly, and Zach Taylor is the deputy that represents us on the sheriff's department. He attends those meetings. I've actually attended one myself. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Is $1,000 enough?
Well, they would, go ahead.
This actually came from our office. We had an unfortunate incident out at Nolensville. You probably saw it on the news.
I'm aware, yeah.
And we suspect that it has not been deemed an arson yet, but we suspect that it is. And so Gordon called me. We've turned it into our insurance company, but the girls' softball's equipment was all in there. I think they've set up a GoFundMe account. You would represent Nolensville, may know that. We're hoping this money tied with some other money, maybe Nolensville will kick in a little to get some tongues wagging over there so we can get somebody caught.
Gotcha. Thank you.
We intend to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. We have done this a couple of years ago at one of our other parks, and it's amazing what $1,000, $1,500 means to a 14, 15-year-old boy or girl.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed or no? Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72419, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute memorandums of understanding concerning the provision of school resource officers. Proper motion made by Commissioner Hayes, seconded by Commissioner Graves. Law Enforcement was 5-4-0 against. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
These are the county can provide SROs for the Franklin Special School District. These will be eligible for those state grant funds that will pass through the county, which will then go towards reimbursing us for those officers that are at the Franklin Special School District.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed or no? Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
And Diane wants me to remind everyone as a point of clarification that this is for all schools, not just Williamson County schools, but FSSD as well. Resolution passes. Resolution 72420, resolution amending the rules, regulations, and procedures of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners concerning the recording and archiving of all Budget Committee meetings. Proper motion made by Commissioner Sturgeon, seconded by Commissioner Graves. The Rules Committee was 4-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Richards.
We've reworked this a little bit. The language is to everybody's approval. It almost has a zero budget effect. We're using existing equipment in the executive conference room. There's a camera on top of the television and recording equipment in there. The only extra amount that the county would be spending would be staff time, is my understanding.
Question from Commissioner Morton.
Just want to let everybody know I've agreed to co-sponsor this. In sharing budget last year, and this is why I think it's really good and especially limited to budget. The number of people that attend our budget meetings and what they were and weren't able to process being there, there is clearly a need the constituents would like to know. And sometimes they weren't even able to hear everything in the room while it was going on. So having shared budget, I think this is a really good idea. That's why I'm sponsoring it with Commissioner Richards.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72421, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the participating counties through their chief local officials for joint partnership in the Northern Middle Tennessee Local Workforce Board. Proper motion made by Commissioner Tunnicliffe, seconded by Commissioner Brown. The Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
This just allows our mayor to join in with, I think we decided it was 13 other counties that have CLEOs, which is chief something or others. They get together and talk about workforce issues because it's not just a Williamson County issue, it's an entire Middle Tennessee issue.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72422, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the town of Thompson Station concerning law enforcement coverage. Proper motion made by Commissioner Cheryl Brown, seconded by Commissioner Megan Guffey. The Law Enforcement Public Safety Committee was 5-4-0 against. Budget Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
So as the caption states, it's for Thompson Station to pay for the sheriff's office for reimbursement for law enforcement coverage. I will say, as one of the whereases, it was the intent of the Law Enforcement Committee. It was too late in the game, we felt, to renegotiate, if you will, but our intent was to have the sheriff's office renegotiate this next go-around and have Thompson Station pay their fair share of law enforcement coverage, since they want to be a big city now. So,
Any questions or comments? Got a question from Commissioner Hester.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wonder about the concerts at the Core at First Bank. Will this mean that we have a requirement to provide sheriff's deputies at those events, which are horrible for traffic?
Sheriff, do you have a comment on that, or?
Those deputies are hired in an off-duty capacity, so they're not employed, they're not on the county clock when they're working those concerts.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72423, resolution to surplus and approve the conveyance of a black Labrador K-9 officer from the Williamson County Sheriff's Office to his law enforcement handler. Proper motion made by Commissioner Graves, seconded by Commissioner Steve Smith. Law enforcement was 5-4-0 against. Property committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
Detective Lee Eves has moved on from the sheriff's office. I believe went back to the federal government, I think. And he had a dog named Remy, K-9 assigned to him, and we feel that it's in the best interest for this dog to go live out his life with its K-9 handler.
Very nice. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72424, resolution accepting the donation of law enforcement equipment from the 21st Judicial District Drug Task Force on behalf of the Williamson County Sheriff's Office. Proper motion made by Commissioner Lawrence, seconded by Commissioner Sturgeon. The Law Enforcement Committee was 4-4-0 against with one abstention. Property Committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
So this is a donation for the LPR cameras.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72425, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the 21st Judicial District Drug Task Force. Proper motion made by Commissioner Mary Smith, seconded by Commissioner David O'Neill. Law enforcement was 4 for, 0 against, with 1 abstention. Budget committee was 5 for, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
I think this one's, pretty self-explanatory.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 1 abstain.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72426, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to sign a contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Children's Services for the provision and reimbursement of juvenile detention services. Proper motion made by Commissioner Cheryl Brown, seconded by Commissioner Steve Smith. Law enforcement was 5 for, 0 against. Budget committee was 5 for, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
DCS reimburses the county when we hold children awaiting permanent placement who are in their custody. There are no additional expenses incurred by juvenile services, and they pay $183.27 per day per child.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72427, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a contract with Murray County, Tennessee on behalf of the Juvenile Court of Williamson County to house juveniles in the Williamson County Juvenile Detention Center. Proper motion made by Commissioner Lisa Hayes, seconded by Commissioner Mary Smith. Law enforcement was 5 for, 0 against. Budget committee was 5 for, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Sanford.
This contract allows Murray County to house youth in our detention center on a short-term basis. It's based on availability of space, and there are no additional expenses incurred by juvenile services. They will have to pay for their medical and dental if they need that. It was also law enforcement's intent to direct Judge Guffy to look at going up on this rate in the future. Right now, it's $125 a day, and we feel that it needs to increase
I have a question
in the future.
I have a question from Commissioner Hayes.
That was my question. Didn't Murray County negotiate better? Why are they paying so much less? So I guess we're already looking at that as to why they're paying a lot less per juvenile.
I believe it's been $125 for quite some time, and it was law enforcement's intent to, next go around, again, short notice, we didn't feel that was right, to renegotiate that contract, to have them pay more.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72428, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the town of Nolensville for the provision of periodic road work and maintenance to municipal roads. Proper motion made by Commissioner Sturgeon, seconded by Commissioner Brown. Highway Commission was 5 for, 0 against. Budget Committee 5 for, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
As long as we've got availability with our highway department, this allows them to work on the roads in the town of Nolensville. Nolensville reimburses us for all of our costs.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72429, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the town of Thompson Station for the provisions of periodic road work and maintenance of municipal roads. Proper motion made by Commissioner Brown, seconded by Commissioner Sturgeon. Highway Commission was 5 for, 0 against. Budget Committee was 5 for, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Same agreement, insert Thompson Station.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 72430, resolution to authorize the Williamson County Clerk's Office to write off the attached list of checks. Proper motion made by Commissioner Hayes, seconded by Commissioner Brown. Budget Committee was 5 for, 0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Morton.
Felipe Lamas is out there somewhere. Got away with it this time. But we will not take another check from him.
That's correct.
He got away with it twice. This allows us to write off those bad checks.
And it looks like I do have a question from Commissioner Sanford.
I have a question for Commissioner Mason. Does the district attorney's office, like, I see one of these would be a felony. Does the district attorney's office prosecute these people or no?
We can, there is a criminal statute that allows for prosecution of worthless check, but, and off the top of my head, I can't, because it's been so long since I've done one. But I can't tell you the last time I've seen one.
Gotcha. Just curious. Well, I'm talking about the felonies.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Late filed Resolution 72434, a resolution authorizing Williamson County to join the state of Tennessee and other local governments and amending the Tennessee State Subdivision Opioid Abatement Agreement and approving the related settlement agreements. Proper motion made by Commissioner Hayes, seconded by Commissioner Brown. The opioid task force was 5-4-0 against. Public health did not meet. Budget committee was 5-4-0 against. Explanation, please, Commissioner Webb.
I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Kroger has been added to the list for the opioid settlement.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, if you're in favor, signify by pressing your yes button. Any opposed, your no. Anyone wishing to change their vote, please do so at this time. Record the vote, please, Mr. Whitby.
22 yes, 0 no.
At this time, the chair would like to recognize Sheriff Jeff Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. The last thing I want to do is prolong this meeting any longer than necessary, but I would certainly be remiss if we didn't take an opportunity to recognize another gentleman in the room who this is his last meeting. If I could ask Chief Deputy Mark Elrod to come forward. And he didn't know this was coming, so I'll be surprised if he pulls out a letter. But he may surprise me. I just want to say, I've been in this business longer than he has. For all of his career, we've been partners in law enforcement. We've been friends. It just so happened we turned out to be opponents, but we were never on different teams. We were always on the same team. And this guy has been a rock to me in my transition. His knowledge, his institutional knowledge, and the value that he has brought to me during this transition has been so appreciated. And I want to publicly thank him and for his decades of service to law enforcement, to the citizens of Williamson County. I would like for y'all to recognize him in this last meeting.
I just have a small speech. No. I just want to say thank you to everybody. It's been a pleasure, been a joy, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter in my life, and good luck to everybody here.
About his retirement celebration will be forthcoming, September 16th.
Thank you for that. And thank you, former Sheriff Elrod. Thank you for all your service to the community.
What do we recognize? Well, I got something to say.
Oh, okay. I believe Commissioner Sanford has something he'd like to say.
On the, and council, I may be out of turn, I don't know, but August 12th meeting, there was no time set, and does anybody have a problem with, like, in the morning, afternoon, what do y'all want to see? Doesn't matter? August 12th would be a Monday, it's Monday.
Second Monday.
Second Monday.
I think some people have jobs that they'll need to do it after 5.
I'll be home.
Is 5:30 good with everybody? Everybody be here?
Looks like we all concur.
For 5 minutes.
So we'll have a...
So for the record, 5:30 p.m. here.
5:30 p.m. August
y'all.
12th. I guess that will be in this room. And I'm sure an email will be coming your way soon. I also have a comment on the board from Commissioner Paul Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will remind everyone that the Williamson County Fair starts in just a few weeks. Those of you that would like to volunteer, the volunteer website is open. I encourage you, if you haven't already signed up for an opportunity to volunteer at the fair, that you do so. There are many opportunities there, and so please sign up and enjoy the fair. And if you're not going to sign up to volunteer, please make a visit. It's a fun place to be, and I think you'll enjoy it if you haven't been. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And there's posters over here if anybody needs one. And I'll be sending you your 2 free tickets soon.
Any other comments or statements that need to be made before we adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We are Betsy Hester, I'm sorry. She squeezed in at the last minute.
I'm trying to turn this off.
Oh, you're trying to. We are adjourned.